Okay.
Go ahead.
Hello. Go ahead, Laura.
Good evening. Welcome, everybody. This is our hub of interconnectivity for Andrew's teachings. This is the third in our Halloween specials, our Halloween marathon. So we've got 3 hours tonight where we can all interrogate Andrew on the first subject we're going to talk about tonight is serial killers. But just to let you know that this new platform where Andrew will be presenting his teachings is presented by Two Feathers Medicine. Two Feathers Medicine is Dale Tobin, Maty and myself. And we will be putting out regular shows for you in the future with Andrew. And we will also be found, as well as Facebook and YouTube. We now have a new medium, a new platform called Locals. So we encourage you to go over to Locals, which is available free. So you can sign up for free. It's very straightforward. Just go over and you'll eventually have our videos on there. At the moment we're doing daily posts just to update you when we will be on with Andrew and what's happening, all our special events including the bus tour and other tours that we will be doing next year will eventually appear there. So welcome everybody wherever you are. I think Dale, you'd like to kick off with your favorite subject of serial killers. So let's get this.
A resident serial killer.
Yes, so let's get this Halloween marathon, the last one, kicked off with you, Dale.
Hello, everyone. So today I am dressed as my shadow. So I'm just integrating my shadow at the moment. No, I'm just joking. I'm dressed as a skeleton this evening. So the first question I have, and something I've been really excited for this show because I've got I love watching serial killer documentaries and just trying to understand perspectives in a different way and how the fuck it can happen. And some of the stories we listen to on Netflix and some of the serial killers will go more into that. So potentially, let's start with the childhood. And a question for you, Andrew, would say a serial killer psychopath's childhood, what would it be like? And what are the types of things you'd look out for with someone who grows into being that?
Oh, just give me the softball question, don't you? Little straight up light worker murder question. How do we recognize it, and what can we do about it before it starts?
Yes.
So, Andrew, I've a curveball here. So, is there a difference between your regular psychopaths, so the kinds that will be in the big business, the Illuminati type people, and a serial killer, or are they just the same? Just one is born in a more
Burger King, McDonald's.
Yeah.
What's the difference between Burger King and McDonald's?
Not a lot other than the name.
What's the difference between Burger King and Kentucky Fried Chicken?
What they serve.
What they serve. That is the difference between Illuminati level psychopaths and high functioning road psychopaths that are constantly killing people out of pleasure and sport. Right? So to answer the light worker version of what recognizes in children, first thing first is a disconnect from humanity itself. And that the journey to what is right and what is wrong has no emotional value to them. Now, oftentimes emotional valuing is beat out of a child or beat into a child. So separate of those types of heavy level traumatic situations, you have standard hauntings, where somebody at a very young age is haunted and haunted and haunted to the point they cannot tell their natural voice from the haunting's voice. I want to remind everyone, please, to turn off your microphones when you come in. We've got somebody's microphone open here. I can't turn it off. Okay, it'll fix itself in a second. Okay. It's sorry, Zoom is having a weirdo thing going on right now. Anyways, the whole idea of disconnecting from who is you and a collective of external yous begin to make a greater journey. That's the most basic thing of what you're going to be looking for. How and when is the child being in their body? And when they are in their body, what's taking over their body? And giving them things to do as missions is something hierarchical operating inside of them. This is where you have to be able to question your child in such a way. And then when you're done questioning them, what else is going on? Okay? You can't just walk up to a child and tell they're a psychopath, but then there are ones you can, because you feel the evil in them. Okay. Anybody here ever been around a kid that's a biter? They're perfect around adults, but as soon as they're around other children, they bite. Every family's had to deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to tell you right now, if you're a mother or a father and your kid's a biter, you have got entities going on, starting from you, and that child is picking up on them. Biting is the canary in the coal mine that it's already gone too far. Okay? Is all biting entity released? 96% of it. And then we have genetic defects, where people simply have no conscience. It's just not in them. And they grow up searching for the adrenaline rush, because their adrenaline rushes are based around only feeling during those moments where they force a situation, like killing an animal or killing a person or making people have accidents. Those kids who throw rocks off of the top of overpasses, you hear about that every generation. That's something that a lot of psycho kids who didn't kill animals did. They went to just go straight up to hurt people or to become a local thug. What's the difference between a psychopath and a thug? Who manages them? That's it. Who manages them? So those large-scale criminal organizations, they all hire psychopaths. Why? Because their job title is to be psychopathic. Kill when you need to kill. Does that answer your question, Dale?
Yes, it answers it well. And so for like the spiritual contracts of someone like that, so say if someone has a life and they end up killing, say, 8 people, so is the people they kill, is it all spiritually contracted like the car crash to happen? Or is it is there something different going on?
There's something different going on. So in the mind of a serial killer that's going to throw a rock off a bridge, do they think they're going to intend to hurt somebody? Yes. The adrenaline is, can I get it to go through the window and hear them scream as they crash? Okay. That would be their trophy memory. And then there are people that take individual trophies, like those that kill animals. They have a trophy box that they like to hide. That's how most of those psychopath kids get caught. Their trophy box gets caught. Okay. A trophy thing is a way they can masturbate too, because sexuality becomes intertwined with their psychopathy as they grow.
And what are the percentage then of, say, it's usually entities and ghosts attached to them, making them do stuff? Is it usually from a young age and they're always with them throughout the life, or is it just
there's no cookie cutter way to say it, because does that serial killer have spiritual contracts to be a serial killer? Yes, they do.
Okay.
Do they have the free will to get out of it? Yes, they do. But like many callers, they find themselves stuck. But in the serial killer way.
Are they all a part of some of what you've been referring to as the multidimensional beings?
Are all serial killers multidimensional beings?
Now, you said there's the original 15. I know they're not still around now, but would they be pieces and parts of those beings?
No. They would be their own creation, their own chaotic creation.
And would they have had lives as non-psychopaths as well before, or is a psychopathic soul a psychopath forever?
Absolutely. They would have many lives as non-psychopathic, completely loving and filling people. Why does one have a psychopathic life? Because of the traumas of wars of the millions of years in the past. That it creates a soul sickness that creates those lives, because those lives, for as bad as they were, they had great successes for the value of evil instead of the value of good. And when you take out the terminology of good and evil, what is the difference between the two? They're polar opposites, and one can flip into the other at any moment in time. There have been many people who have killed in the name of God Does that take away the fact that they're still a psychopath? Well, does God validate that death? No, it doesn't. But in culture, it does. In the culture of war, it does.
So say when one of these psychopath and people who've killed people die, is there a kind of like a lot of shock for them? Say if they have a lot of demonic attached to them, what happens in their like kind of life review? Is there any, will they go into kind of obviously the reincarnation grid? What type of karma would they create for themselves?
That's another softball lightworker question. Come on, you were supposed to be evil, Dale. What is this lightworker shit coming out of you? So there's no cookie cutter way to describe it, and it can be completely karma. And the way they have deaths, so again, death is predetermined before even birth, and oftentimes they have whole life reviews and see what they did wrong, and then that they have to determine, is that a cancer in the greater soul, and does that thing need to have a neutralization factor if it's I am rapid or short? Meaning there is something that the killer will pass on to the future people. The urge of how to not kill could be one of them. Right? Or the temptations of darkness. You must understand, many killers have a religious overtone to them, even though most of them are agnostic or atheist. And then you have the full-on religious serial killers.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they all have different deaths and life reviews based off of their religious or non-religious beliefs.
Did anybody see that? I don't think he was a killer, but you know that Mormon, what's he called? The church leader who was basically like he had about 100 wives or something. It was on Netflix. Really high. Yeah. But I don't think he killed people, but he was just like attacked, and obviously, yeah, quite a nasty person.
Yeah, that's different.
So can we laser focus in on a couple of different serial killers, and we can expand on it and see? Yeah. So go on then, Dale. Your favorite.
I wanted to ask about Jeffrey. But what specifically? Obviously, I've watched, and a lot of people here, I'm guessing, would have watched the latest Netflix series, which was incredible, by the way. Really good watch. So Jeffrey Dahmer, for someone like that, and some of the weird shit he did, like he had people drilling in the heads, and how many people did he kill, Maty, in the end? Was it 16 or roundabout? It was a lot of people. Yeah, it was a lot of people. But he had that fascination, didn't he, of abusing animals when he was a kid. His actually dad got him into it. Then it became like a sexual fantasy for him. But specifically him as a person, was there anything? I know on the spiritual unseen sense, there'd be so much more going on to what we've been told. So yeah, just a little bit.
So there is a far bigger story to him, because he made international and at some level intergalactic fame.
Is he still alive?
No.
Okay, so we can talk about him.
He was killed in prison. Somehow a mop broom handle accidentally ended up coming up his ass and out his mouth.
Right.
I think he fell on it.
Yeah. Sure he did.
Anyways.
Is that what happened on the did he? That was, yeah, they didn't say that, did they? But he got up his own ass. That's
yeah.
Wow.
Well, beaten to near death and then shoved until he died.
And it was that guy. What's that one guy, wasn't it? He was cleaning.
It was a cellmate. Yeah, it was a cellmate.
Yeah.
So what made him super famous?
Yeah.
What made him his story attract you to look at? Not that you're a psychopath or anything like that, but it's intrigued you enough to look. Why?
Well, my mum's always been into. When I grew up, my mum was always watching crime shit and serial killer stuff. I was into it a little bit when I was younger, but I've just started watching it lately. I don't watch it regularly, but that Jeffrey Dahmer, my wife Gabrielle said it was incredible, so I was like, right, I gotta check it out. And I watched it, and it was a really good watch. I'm not someone who watches it all the time. I'd probably watch I'd have like a month where I just watch some horrors or watch something like that. So I guess for me, growing up with that, my mum liking it and watching it, would be the reason why kind of look into it, but I don't overlook into it until it starts becoming my reality. I always take it in a neutral stance, and it doesn't scare me or anything like that. So yeah, it's fun. I find it fun when I watch it.
Jeffrey Dahmer was different because he wasn't, you know, there's some that I watch where they're murdering children and so forth, and it's really difficult to watch and to process. Obviously, all murder is horrible, and if you were there to witness the actual acts themselves, you'd be appalled by it. But because Jeffrey was gay and he was going for other adult grown gay men, it's slightly different, isn't it? It's just, it has this different kind of fascination to it than your average psychopathic paedophile.
Hold on one second, guys.
Yeah, no worries.
My device is about to die for no reason. Oh.
And if anybody in the chat as well has watched the series, let us know how it was. And what we've got here, possibly. Yeah, that's hilarious. Should have got on the light worker fruit salad bowl on my skeleton face. I love that.
We're going to open up anyway halfway through tonight, so everyone's got plenty of time for questions because we keep running out of time.
And if anybody's got any spooky stories as well, have a think. And we'd love to hear them and talk about them.
Did you see the when the Podesta emails came out, that they showed inside his house, and he had a statue of a decapitated male torso body that was left in the same way that Jeffrey Dahmer left one of his victims?
No, I didn't see that. No,
you're not seeing that. You should look at the Podesta Dahmer statue.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know how to get it up. So
Andrew's back as his evil twin.
Yeah. And don't put it up because the YouTube will take anything down Dahmer related now.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Anything, especially if it's Ukraine war related, because there's a lot of serial killer posing that's going on, as well as an entire artwork that was started by the Colombian cartels. It's a death art where they pose bodies in certain things and made them spell languages and words and body parts.
Gosh.
And that has really taken over a lot of international crime now, where they're posing bodies like artwork, whole death scenes. And it is putting the fright into some of the bigger policing forces about how many absolute psychopaths are out there.
So how early in a child's life who's got this potential would they
Day one.
Really make friends with demons?
Sure.
Or don't need to?
They might come with demon friends.
Might arrive with one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Huh?
So, I mean, we know that you've talked about some of the signs in terms of biting. What else? Temper, anger,
rage, anger, vengeance,
and is
ego,
there like
arrogance.
A switching from one personality to another, so they calm down and then they
that can happen usually in traumatized people, creates multiple personalities, and one of the personalities becomes a killer. And then other times they don't break up and they just become the killer. It consumes them.
So what about Jeffrey Dahmer, Andrew? Because you were going to give us some sort of more laser focused information on him.
He is reached high level of fame long before the movies and stuff came out. For a number of reasons. Well, he actually grew up about 90 miles from where I'm living right now, believe it or not. Okay, and did most of his hunting within the areas that I could have easily been if I was that person of that age group at that time. Okay, because he would hunt hundreds of miles away. Okay, once they understood him, what made him so famous was his hunting styles, and then what he did with his victims and prey. Okay, he believed he was doing full-on brain surgery on them and putting drills in their brains. Why? Because he knew, just like the surgery that the guys did in the 50s and the 60s, where they popped a spike inside your brain and cut your brain in half, basically. He learned how to do that with a drill. Okay, with a drill. Think about that.
Yeah.
and have no compassion for the person he was doing it to, believed he was helping them. Okay?
Do they always act alone, or do they sometimes have
No, sometimes they have
accomplices?
teams.
Teams, so
Yeah.
more than just one.
Those are the hardest ones to catch too.
And was there a kind of satanic process? You know, Jeffrey, because all the way through he had these books. I don't know how true it was, where he worshipped.
That's
like the devil.
That's the religious aspect going through the greater validations and the psychopathy being developed higher and higher and higher. It could have been any book that he could have developed that out of. Like A Son of Sam was about the barking dog.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Many of them believe that they actually.
Is this just schizophrenia? No. At that point, the mind's far too fractured to be schizophrenia. It's a fully developed psychosis.
Yeah. And many of them believe that they actually possess the souls of those that they kill. They actually collect the souls of those that they kill as well, like some sort of.
Some try, but at that point, if they're soul collectors, a demon has already come in and put that in them, and they get a very tiny bit of the taste. The rest goes up to the pecking order.
Are they so clever they can even outwit the demon that is trying to run them?
That happens frequently. Ted Bundy's an example of that. There's quite a few examples of full-on psychopaths who attract demons and ghosts, and once they're inside, they torture them to doing their work, and they take over the unseen world.
Wow.
And you said he was known galactic wise. Can you expand a little bit on that?
Because he didn't just kill here.
What other pieces and parts of him?
He was a bilocating being, multi-locating being, an accident and on purpose at the same time. Forked into multiple lifetimes that all had the shared psychopathy and shared vision of it.
Wow.
Which scared the shit out a lot of the off-worlders, going, your psychopaths from down there can be born into us up here and never know it at the same time.
So they're not aware of it. It's unconscious.
It's a sleeper aspect of them, though technology over there has greatly advanced over the last few decades to detect psychopathic imprints.
So for someone like Jeffrey, them getting into the incarnation or reincarnation grid, did they get through a back door to try? Was it kind of not a mission, but something they wanted to just come here and basically do that? That was like ingrained into them.
So Jeffrey himself planned that lifetime many lifetimes in advance to do. But it also brought a great deal of awareness studying him, how to deal with other psychopaths and other psycho killers. Him becoming that famous, did it pull a few people out of the woodwork to become like him? Yes. But far more benefited from the material of being caught from the study of it than those that created it. So you must understand the bigger reasons of why these goods and these bads happen.
Yeah.
And he got really famous, didn't he, when he got locked up, because people were seeing him as some sort of celebrity.
Well, because he was contacting people and people were offering them to have his child. I mean, all sorts of crazy stuff. And, you know, if you talk to the actual people that were investigators, they suspect he killed well over 100, but they'll never be able to prove it.
Yeah.
Okay. That's nothing compared to the Russian serial killers. One guy's got like 900 under him. Okay. 900 kids. Okay. Kids under 11.
Impossible. Yeah. It's crazy. So there's another one then, which is a different flavor then. So here, Richard Kuklinski, the Iceman, the mafia hitman. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah. So he seemed to be someone who was more than just a twisted person who was doing it for their own pleasure. He seemed to be someone that was just broken at a very early age, that just had no empathy, and eventually just got so angry inside that he could just kill at a moment's notice. Is that the same sort of thing?
No, so that's somebody who followed down the criminal money validated the killing. And when he was home, he was the perfect father, and no one never knew he did anything. The BTK killer in Oklahoma was the exact same way. He was a religious icon or a deacon, something to that effect. So they use that the normal life, the white picket fence life, to cover up everything. And then when you work for a mafia organization that encourages violence and visible violence to terrorize enemies, he was able to feed a part of himself and have best of both worlds, and develop that ability to kill because that was what was demanded, because killing on demand meant cash. So what's the difference? Hold on. What's the difference between somebody in the military who in their terms of years of service had to kill 35 or 40 people versus a person that's on the street that's killed 35 or 40 people hunting them?
There's not a big difference. There's not a big difference because I recently watched. I went over the.
There is a big difference.
Right.
The way in which they had to be fractured to get there.
Right.
The majority of the psychopaths from on the street have had beaten into them. They had to take on the Patriot programming, the war. Now, first thing first, I support everybody out there in the military. I use this as an example because I could add another example. What's the difference between a banker who steals $1 trillion from the poor versus a psychopath who kills the poor? All different metaphors can be seen from this, but in this particular scenario, war is a different form of killing karma. Okay, very different form of killing karma. It has a very different aspect at karmic resolution versus for sport killing. Now, there are many times in the military where things have gone off guys, and they become sport killers. But when they get out, then they face the demons.
Yeah, well, a great example of this would be one of my family members was in the military, was in the army, Yorkshire Regiment for, I think he was 20 years or something like that. And he was fine at the start of his service. He went over to Germany, Afghanistan, lots of different places. I think he lost over like 15 of his friends. And he saw all sorts of stuff. His mate got blown up and stuff like that. And he's actually been discharged now. And he's full on, he's in like the worst of the worst situation from it. It's finally like broke him down. So I've seen it firsthand, what it does to people. And them believing, obviously, what they were doing. They're not wanting to kill people, but they have to. And realistically, it's kind of just splits them a little bit.
Them. It's also them.
Yeah. Yes.
But there's also many times that it's gone awry.
And choosing your life is not a bad thing.
No.
Okay? This is full-on forced evolution.
About the Vietnamese
your free will
war,
will determine if your free will determine if you get through it or not.
Yeah.
Like even going out for meals, because he came out for my birthday, he finds it hard to go out in a meal because he's always looking around him, ready for someone to go behind him and stuff. It's so yeah, it's not nice.
So let me give you another example here. So we just had this Darrell Brooks case here in the United States where this guy ran into a crowd of people in Waukesha, Wisconsin last year, killed 6 grandmothers, and ran over 72 other people. And many of them lost arms and legs, etc. He could not accept he did anything wrong and went full sovereign citizen defense, saying it wasn't me all the way into the end, and still said it wasn't me. What's that?
Is that multiple personality disorder?
No, that's a psychopath.
Yeah, that's when they
responsibility all the way through. We learned that the week before he tried running his girlfriend over with a car. The same girlfriend he got pregnant when she was 15. Okay, and he's a registered sex offender, and yet he was a straight up hood rat. Beat up many people. The law never got him. Okay, did all sorts of criminal things. Criminals and psychopaths. Unfortunately, they operate in the same realm together. Okay, not all criminals are full-on psychopaths. There's a journey to degrading yourself into the loss of all morals until money replaces your morals. Okay, which in the specific term, serial killers, they're self-employed. Okay, there's no mafia boss telling them what to do. They're their own boss. And therefore they get all the pleasure, all the pain, all the things out of doing it. And that's why these solo killers have so much place in our cultural zeitgeist.
And when they pass over, they would then become demons
No,
themselves? No?
no. It all depends on what was the impact. Sometimes they just blank out and start over, and other times the higher souls, what's there to learn from this? What is the next few hymns going to learn, or hymns or hers?
So I've met people, Andrew, in the criminal world that have been temporarily psychopathed, if that makes sense.
Yes.
People that are within. And actually, what I was just saying about the Vietnamese War as well, I was watching some documentaries on that where people were in amongst it, normal people that would never have considered those kinds of activities, and then are put in amongst that, and they're collecting teeth, collecting fingers, putting notches on their machetes when they cut a head off of somebody. And this becomes a sport to them. And then when they come back home, they can't kind of let go of it. It's almost like it was never meant to be, but there's something in them that can't forget the adrenaline rush of the crime or the war or something that took them out of their normal
Now you're
place.
understanding the temptation of psychopathy.
Yeah.
The temptation to go down that path of self-degradation. Many of the psychopaths deal with that. That's why you see ones who, in the classic, criminal stories, he's going to burst. He has to kill again. He has no choice because chemically they've been taken over. Then there are ones who have done enough chemical killing where they seize control of their chemical dependency on it, and they become super geniuses at killing.
And there's some that then begin that point where they've reached a point where now the killing has come to a point and they now want to be infamous. So they start to lead cookie trails to the police to kind of catch them, to write their own tale.
Right, because they're too smart to get caught. They actually have to leave trails for the dumbass police.
That's what the Yorkshire Ripper did. He took the piss out of the police and sent them loads of letters. And back then they didn't have any CCTV, and they caught him. So how they caught him, I think in the end he killed over 34 people. He's quite not far from where I live, probably about an hour away he was. And they actually by accident just did a routine stop, and there was something in the back of the boot, and they caught him. And he was there for about 15 years, just sending letters to the police, taking the piss out of them. So smart in his actions and what he was doing. And it just took one fucking weird scenario and he was caught.
There are many situations where people who have killed one or two, and they're not necessarily labeled a serial killer, but because VICAP shares all the data, they get caught in a traffic stop. Okay. So why did you have duct tape, hand binders, and, cut cutters, What is this box of fingernails you have here? What the fuck is this shit?
That's the thing I don't get with the Jeffrey Dahmer case, with the smells, how so many people could smell the dead flesh.
It was the area. It was the area that he chose to be in. It was that area particularly wasn't very well policed.
Not at all. It wasn't policed at all. Only by the local sheriffs who came around like once a month, if that.
There was another guy, I think he has to be one of the most depraved. Obviously, I think
actually the most depraved ones are at the tops of the governments using drone strikes to kill hundreds at a time.
Yeah.
Are the drone strike operators killers? Or the people managing the tell them to do it, or the person signing the order?
Well, my brother-in-law was a drone with a flyer.
Yeah. Although I've talked to many of them, counseled many of them, they get haunted by what happens.
Yeah.
The people above them, most of the times not. And that's the real psychopaths up there. The ones that have killed tens of thousands and are getting paid to do it, and will get paid tens of thousands or more, and are never an elected official. Or they are an elected official.
So, Dale, do you know about the guy Israel something? What's his name now? Israel. I've forgotten his name now, but he had kits all over the place.
Right. You know about the Cleveland torso killer? He just left torsos everywhere.
No.
Elliot,
I love
actually,
this.
no, literally.
Yes, that's so good. Just
Yeah.
leaving torsos everywhere.
Just leaving torsos everywhere, like quite a few. And
Wow.
Elliot Ness was after he left Chicago. Elliot Ness came out of retirement to go search that guy down.
Hmm.
They never caught him.
You never caught him. Wow.
Nope.
Israel Keys was the one I was talking about. He was a really depraved individual.
Mm-hmm.
But what I find interesting is a lot of the times when I hear these people speak, they have some form of esoteric knowledge.
Yes.
Or they speak
Oftentimes
about
they do,
timelines.
because they start out atheists with no feeling, and they go into religion to find feeling, but don't find feeling until they start killing or doing the opposite of the good.
Yeah.
They're clearly breaking down the moral code of what the religion is trying to teach.
Oh, there's a great one I've just been reminded of. Do you know the guy from America who apparently didn't push his wife down the stairs, but they don't know if he did or didn't, and then they found out someone he was with fell down the stairs and died. What name is it? I'll have to find the name for that.
Somebody's asking, is the Korea tramplings dark rituals? No, that's actually like, you have to understand the nature of the street. There's a little alleyway that's 10 feet wide going uphill, and that alleyway leads into another place that's going downhill. So you have two different levels of crowds of people funneled through an era. And there comes a point where people are saturated enough, the law of thermodynamics takes over, and you have no control over your body. And that street is well known for crowd issues. And because they had no Halloween for 2 years, and mask mandates, everything came off, the streets were crowded, and the cops weren't ready for that. That's not the first time people have been hurt in that exact same intersection either.
Have you heard about the Michael Peterson case?
So he's the one that killed his wife and then tried to say that he didn't do it. Well, he killed 2 wives.
Yeah, and at the end of the documentary, one of the conspiracies was an owl came out and flew her and felt pushed down the stairs. At the end, I was like,
"What?" Amy's asking, why are the serial killers mostly or all male?
Can you say that again? I had to switch devices. Sorry.
Why are serial killers mostly or all male?
Because those are the ones that are getting caught. There's quite a few female serial killers if you look out there. And for the longest time, they didn't think serial killers were black. No, it's just the white ones were getting caught first, or being labeled serial killers before the FBI developed its process of identifying a serial killer. Wouldn't that woman just get caught? What, she killed 9th husband via poisoning? You hear that throughout history, don't you?
Oh yeah, nurses
Or poisoning lovers.
Yeah.
We have a nurse just recently who's just done that in the UK.
Yeah.
She's been killing babies. Yeah.
Yeah, we had it here in the United States too, where a nurse basically elderly people at a facility, even though they were still healthy to go, she killed like 200 of them, thinking she was ending their pain.
So are there karmic agreements for those who are murdered by the serial killers? Oprah's asking.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, there is. There's karmic agreements.
Yeah.
Well, have we gone dark enough, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of the night?
It's Dale we have to satisfy on this.
You're making me sound like some freak now.
Yeah, I think so. Have you got anything else, Dale?
Yeah, just one more. We touched on this before, but I think a lot of people would want to know about this. So Jack the Ripper, because that's one of the biggest. When I was a kid, that's the first killer I ever heard of. For those who I know, you told me this before, but what was the deal with Jack the Ripper and what went on then?
Okay, so I'll give you the light worker answer. Jack the Ripper was never caught. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
They believe it was some prince or princess or some rich elderly person that was on it wasn't. It was actually two even wealthier people that shared experiences becoming violent killers in the different wars leading up to that. And they franchised and recruited people to become serial killers all around the world and make their own little secret society of killers.
So it's kind of like a business then.
No, more like a social club.
Okay.
It was more like a social club. And they would share their trophies and their excitements, just like, fucking like having a book club about, fucking the people they've killed. Serial killer support group. There you go.
And that's why it's obviously keeping that neutral ground with it all and not letting it overwhelm you in the information and stuff like that. Like when I do look into it, I try not to look into it too much. Then I'd probably have like 8-9 months where I wouldn't even watch anything. Because I believe if you watch it, like those people who watch it every night or every week, it can. Yeah.
That's what you look at, looks back at you.
There we go. So it was kind of me, a nice little release for me tonight. A lot of questions I've been wanting to ask for a long time. There we go.
You've appeased your inner serial killer TV watcher. Well, why don't we open it up to calls?
Yeah, let's do that. There's lots of questions in the chat.
So let's go ahead and tell people to raise their hands. Actually, I'm going to pass it off to you guys, the hosts of the show, to start running the show.
Yes. And what we want from you guys, we want you to actually give us the questions that we're asking. These are not for personal readings. We want spooky stories, spooky questions, not personal readings.
So who's going to come on down?
They have to raise their hands first.
Right, yeah, and raise, obviously, yes, and raise your hand.
And now there's a whole bunch of people. How do I raise my hand?
We've got one. We need more. They've got two. Yeah, we need three.
Okay, you pick one, Dale. You're the serial killer expert.
So,
pick a serial killer. Do you
want to watch a movie with me?
I don't know.
So we'll go first with Jason, giving you the signal to unmute.
Hey guys.
Hi.
Hey Jason.
Hi Jason.
How's
How are you
everybody doing? Oh,
Good.
that was an interesting opening.
Yes, wasn't it?
Yeah,
interesting's a good word.
we went dark.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sorry, let me get away from the car washer.
So Jason, have you got any stories, spooky stories to tell us?
Or some dark questions?
Or any questions?
Since you call on me, I will share. There was a dream that I had, and I think you were talking about dreams in the other show, but I had a dream recently that I shot bolt upright at 3:10, and I immediately started writing a 4-page, more neatly than I've ever written. Typically a 4-page revocation, and it was a really cool moment of resolving. Like we're here talking about serial killers and feeling okay about it, right? Like we're finding this room and this space to not be in competition or threatened by any of these topics. So this is all an exercise. So a testament to the exercises that we've all been doing. I shot bolt upright, and I wrote right away, what is your name that left this mark on me of pain? I carried you up the steps, broke your hold on me. You clung to my back and sucked my blood from my left shoulder as I took your eyes. I was reaching for your tongue, and I would have ripped and torn your head off. Oh, I would have ripped and torn your head from you in time. You demons mocked me. You flashed your eyes, your drugs of the dream realm. So it was like a 4 pages on. It was like a 3 o'clock in the morning. I recognize you. You bit me. Like the guy was on this hip hop, like vampire guy was on my neck, and he decided to engage me at the final. Like this was after a party and a sleepover, after them pouring hot sauce on me and joking. And I was like looking at them. A threatening 6'4" like vampire sat across from me, and he was like, "Don't you fucking look at me." Like he was threatening me, and I had to look at him and be like, do you know who I am? Like, do you know that this is my dream? And they went about harassing and being the lost boys with their lost cause. And then basically the one finally attacked me at the end, and he put himself on me, and I lifted him up. He was like, 6 foot, and I lifted him up and carried him up the steps. And I went to my boy's room, and I knocked on. I was like, he's, I got to come in. He's sucking my blood. So I actually took care of him, and I went, and then I woke right up, and I was like, who are you? And I ended up telling them throughout.
Mm-hmm. Flipping the frequency on the demons, demonizing the demons.
Yes, sir. I sent the message through the galactic central sun. My arrow sets sail to call in all guides, guardians along the way, and more auditors when it gets there. You better hope I don't see you in the dream world again, motherfuckers. Peace. That's how I ended after 4 pages. So there's my scary story.
Well, thanks a lot for sharing that. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
Oh, you're welcome.
Says what you got it when you have those moments where you just got to literally stand up out of your sleep and write because you were inspired at that moment.
Yeah.
Would
Yeah,
that
it was
be-
nice.
That's an example of the practice paying off in dividends.
Would that also be a time, Andrew, to set up a spiritual court of equity?
Yeah, I mean, anything you throw at it verbal wise, it adds to the wall of defense and offense.
Yeah, because Jason, you totally called it out, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been like fortifying the precognitive workforce, and they have concurrent running lines of, I've made spiritual courts of equity, and we all got together and we were like, hey, hold on.
Let's all compare notes. Yes, let's compare notes.
Like, hold on.
And I love it how you didn't let the experience change you as well, and keeping obviously inspired, like Andrew said, and he actually healing and learning from it as well. It's incredible when that happens, when some dark things do go on and you keep that neutral stand, you're doing the inner work, you're not allowing fear to change you. There's actually a lot to be learned from it, and that's really cool, man.
Mhm.
Thank you for saying that, Dale.
Jason, do you remember the show where a lady called in and I had her create a purse with a golden brick in it?
Yes. and you smacked the shit
Yes.
out of them. Yes.
You golden bricked him.
Golden brick, man. we were all there, all the shows when you swirlied them, and I was like, I'm keeping company with the warriors, right? So it's like, yeah.
This is the interesting thing is that in the scene world, violence very much has consequences that go far-reaching, but in the unseen world, this is something that I don't know, Andrew, how far we can take this, but you can use violence in the unseen world, especially if somebody comes violent towards you. I mean, Andrew, you have a way of making people shit themselves, don't you?
Oh yeah. So the first thing is you're taking vengeful pleasure out of it.
No.
And it becomes a sport. If you're doing it as an action to stop something from harming you, in the ethereal world, they don't have bodies. They have pretend bodies. So you're really hurting them. Yes, you are, in a sense. Real hurt is when you destroy their entire mechanism of interface. Oftentimes when I'm dealing with things that have potent power, I go to their realms and smash their castles and power plants and dark ritual sites, destroy their armies, stuff that takes them thousands of years to create. I will smash their etheric infrastructures. Yeah. That's when you up the scale and show off what you can do, because then you're instilling a fear into them that with a handful of thoughts and coercive action, you can wipe out 1,000 years of their preparation.
Mm-hmm. And humiliation seems to work quite well as well on
humiliation works because it's what they're trying to do to you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, the dancer's hat. I remember that one.
Dunking their heads in toilet full of diarrhea. That's one of my favorites. I've had full-on reptilians dunking their heads in a toilet full of diarrhea. Yeah.
The sport of it.
Giving an entity that has no body the shits because they're always running looking for a toilet and it never happens. So they're forever feeling that.
I think there was a story lately, Andrew, you shared where you put someone in some box or something for 1,000 years, then to get out. I think that was a few days ago we talked about that.
Last night.
Last night it was, wasn't it? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote a song about this, sort of. I wrote a revocation song as we're talking about it, and I was talking to all the pieces, parts, and it's actually called The Lizard's Lullaby, and it's a play on the system of domination and control. And the chorus is, "There's a void you can call home. Remember you missed me. There's a void you can call home. Remember you missed me." And it was a song I'd like to share with you guys at some point. Maybe I'll email it to you.
Sure. Just send a link to it to one of us at our Facebook.
I think you'll love it.
Okay,
Andrew. I think I don't know.
Brilliant.
It's a little
brilliant.
It's a little soft, but
thanks a lot for calling in. We're going to get to as many callers on this marathon day as we can.
Thank you, Jason,
Thank
brother.
you, guys.
Thanks, Jason.
So, Amy, we're going to give you the signal to unmute. Hello.
Hello,
Amy.
you want to turn on your video?
Okay.
What's your horse's name?
Scary.
What's
scary?
There's nothing in the back, is there?
I know. No,
Hi,
I keep it clean.
Oh, Amy.
I know. Maybe I'll do something. Who knows? I was gonna wear a costume, but it was too hot to wear. So, but
Well, the costume or the weather?
What?
The costume was hot or the weather? She's not getting that, is she?
I missed that. Okay, I got you. I'm sorry. I don't know. It could be hot if you all judgment there. But okay, so serial killers. So my question, if I can phrase it, I never really, so blood and guts, I never really liked horror movies except that movie Halloween with Jamie Lee Curtis. That was like the most scary I would go. So I'm thinking, okay, so if these guys, Jeffrey Dahmer, as he's killing these people, what is the other world doing? Do they message him like do it this way or go deeper or more?
In Dahmer's situation, he was feral, meaning it was very easy to influence him to go after someone, and whatever he did to them was feeding time. So the longer they would just encourage him to make it take longer, or show him techniques of how to do stuff that he wouldn't know how he was doing, like the drill in the head thing. That clearly came from an external influence.
Okay, so that in his dreams, or just that, like, does he have visions? Or
most people don't really dream anymore. Their dreaming world and their physical world lay over each other at any moment in time. They could be fully awake like you and I, and all of a sudden full delta take over them, and there's no separation in consciousness or personality.
Oh,
Right.
Okay, so then that takes me to, how do these people in the movie industry come up with this shit, like this grotesque? Where does that even come from? The who's the guy I'm thinking of? Pulp Fiction guy.
Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah, like, come on, that, like, where
that's a genre. Now, if you were to look at comic books and some of the horror stuff of demons that are shown, are those people tapping into real demons or creating a story?
Yeah. Well,
Some tap into real demons and some don't. That's the creative world separating from the real world. So a lot of comic books that have demonic representations to them doesn't mean they're all demonic. Sometimes they're great teaching stories.
oh, interesting. Okay, that's interesting because I always thought, well, I never think of demonic, but I just wondered how the heck did they write that movie? Like, and
It was a
So-
creative
so-
process. Not one person generally writes that stuff. A whole bunch of people are in on that.
okay.
Because remember, they're trying to scare a crowd and make money off of it.
Right. So do you
And what's
know
going to make
if-
the movie a twist that people want to watch it?
Stephen King's was Stephen King blind?
No, he's
Or
not
was he
blind.
was he deaf? Was Stephen King
No,
deaf?
he was
I
he
think-
was full.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Okay. That was cool. Those are my questions.
And have you got any spooky
Yeah.
stories then, Amy? From
I don't have
Okay.
any spooky stories. I get spooky.
You've never had anything spooky happen to you in your life?
Not even as a child. All of us were probably haunted as children, surely.
Oh, I would be scared. Yeah, my brothers would scare me. You know, like go to
No,
the
no,
basement.
like mystical things going on that have no explanation and everybody runs?
Haunted houses
Alright.
that you play in.
Nope.
Music
Should I
coming
the
on
white-
for no reason.
should I have the white picket fence?
White picket fencing.
Nothing goes on here.
Wait,
nothing,
what happened?
nothing to see here.
Nothing-
My whole town was haunted. The whole town. It was
Oh,
incredible.
I'm not saying things weren't haunted, but I don't know.
Have you ever seen a dish fly across the room?
No.
Have you ever seen a door open for no reason?
Yes.
Okay.
That's-
Did that ever
that's-
scare you?
that's- That was-
There we
Well, I don't know. It never. I mean, it was creepy, but then I justified it.
Okay.
You
I don't
think.
know. I
You think you justified
Yes.
I
it.
think I
Yeah.
You placeboed it out of your belief, out of your
I
belief.
did.
No placebo
Oh.
here.
No. No. Yeah, no, I don't. I honestly don't remember being scared. I mean, people, you know, I don't know. That's funny. No, I don't remember.
So you would have rationalized everything like that happened.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, what is
Is-
that?
Is that protection,
Are you
Me?
asking me?
guys? No, I'm
Me?
just putting it out there
Mm-hmm.
to Amy or the guys.
Sometimes children have these defense mechanisms where they just don't see things. I know from when I was a child, there was ghosts everywhere. You know, they would be watching me when I'm sitting in bed sleeping. I mean, I could just reel off so many different things. As I came into my 30s, that's when it became even worse, when I was able to perceive the unseen world, and the amount of it that's out there just everywhere is quite breathtaking. We talked about the salamander type being, didn't we, Andrew? The one that you said is skimming off the system. Things like that in people's houses. It does amaze me sometimes that people can't see or feel these things.
I don't want to.
Mm,
I will
I guess-
share a somewhat of a scary story. I have to edit a little bit. All right, so I was in San Francisco and limo driving, people from one place to another, and I knew something wasn't right in the back. I couldn't tell if it was ghosts or anger, or I mean, it was just such a chaos back there. There were only 4 people back there, and we're going to pick up more people. So I pull up, put on my blinkers, and cars, traffic going by. I open the door for them. They start yelling and arguing, going back and forth. They go up to the house. They're arguing with the people on the inside, and then the argument continues. They get back inside the car, and everyone's still in this debate, argument, getting angry and angry situation. So I take them to a club. They go in. They are still angry at each other. And then maybe an hour and a half later, they get back in the car. And I asked them, kindly, where do you want to go next? And there was this unified moment where they all were dead quiet and evilly looked at me. Okay. As I realized every single one of them had been taken over by one being. Okay. And this being just showed me a faux pas. It showed me it had controlled all of them and it was looking for me. Okay. And I said, because they didn't really respond where they wanted to go. So, like, I'm going to take you to the strip club, which I know there are more demons at.
Demons dancing on the pole.
Exactly.
Throwing demon thongs left, right, and
You
center.
go and fight these guys instead of me.
Exactly. So I just took them from demon haunted club to demon haunted club, and they got a little bit less and a little bit less, though they were still arguing. This thing, all it wanted to do was feed off of their misery and then find something more potent to get into to go feed off of more misery. And when we got to this, I don't know, probably around 1 a.m., we finally went to a club that had stronger demons than they were. And finally, everything was perfect after that. And I drove them home, and they all said that was one of the best nights they ever had. And I got a $400 tip.
Wow.
Okay.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I was a piece of meat. And when they all looked at me, I'm like, ooh, that ain't good. That ain't good. That ain't good.
I had a demon once come into our house, and it woke me up in my sleep. And I figured out what it was, and then it showed me that it could jump into my daughter and then speak through her.
Yeah.
It was absolutely horrific, and that was at the beginning when I before I'd even found your material, and I didn't really know about spiritual hygiene, and I had to figure it out on the bounce. But I remember that moment was, they do like to show what they can do, don't they?
Yes, they like to show off frequently.
Yeah.
Now, when you catch them in the faux pas like that, later it actually began talking to me through the thing because it realized I knew what was up, and especially it realized I was taking it club to club to club, and I'm like, all right, let's see how potent and strong you really are. Right? I can get you into any club in this city. Don't worry.
How to offload demons.
No, get them to fight each other. Get them to fight each other.
It'll be Fight Club.
Yeah, it's because that group was a powerful misery group. Okay, I guarantee you take them into a club with somebody else's territory, they will fight over that group. Okay, working on a client, or working on an actual client, and having a full-on demon come through saying, "You will not heal this being. I will kill it if you do." Oh yeah, shit like that. That's challenging in the moment.
I've got a question for Amy, actually, because she's worked with children.
Yeah.
Have you seen the demons in children? Or would you know, we've talked about it, would you recognize it, or would you have recognized it before? Is there anything there you want to share? How children behave if they're haunted?
Like you said, the biting, for sure.
Yeah.
There was a lot, like in the preschool. So that's like I did the 4 or 5 year olds. And sometimes, I did the little ones, but definitely that. And definitely it's in their eyes.
Yes.
It's like, you could just tell, like this. I even wonder what he is now. He's probably 15 right now. This one kid I'm thinking about. And he was just a menace. He was just a terror, like a terror. The teachers would just be like, you don't even know what to do with them.
Yeah.
You don't even know what to do with them.
And then what does that grow up like? What does that grow up into? Right.
Yeah. Well, like I said,
Wouldn't surprise you if he was a serial killer.
Right. But now what about the Ritalin that they give kids? Does that have an effect on, whatever? I'm not saying just Ritalin, but, the drugs that they give him, because this kid the mom did put him on drugs because she couldn't even handle him.
So there are good and bad aspects to Ritalin when dealing with psychopathic children. The drug effects it alone will make them battle something else other than the psychopathy demons. They'll be battling the drugs. And as long as they're doing battle with the drugs and not taking the drugs, they may not be doing the impulses of the other stuff. Does that mean the drugs are working? No. It doesn't mean that the drugs are working. I believe there was a study came out that basically said all depression medicines for the last 30 years have been absolutely useless and complete and total failure. And the same thing with Ritalin and ADHD medicines.
Mhm.
Okay, so you're really medicating for a different reason. And if you're medicating to keep ghosts away, the best way to do that is not tramadol, halcyon or whatever it is. You just sit there and drool because there's no emotions, nothing generating. They can't do jack shit with that. Okay, that's the best way to clear out something that's entity infested down to the last cell. Starve them out. Okay, they will leave on their own. Haldol, yes.
And then
Yeah.
are there any side effects to that? Can the children
Oh God,
come
terrible side effects. It takes nearly a decade to recover from Haldol abuse. And
Wow.
most of people have been abused in the situation of taking it in high dosages that they should have never done.
back? So in
Yeah.
cases like bipolar, well, this is for Amy and you, Andrew. So a child that switches quickly between demonstrating like biting and stuff like that, and
that's
then
not bipolar.
Okay, that's
Bipolar
psychopath.
is extreme happiness, extreme sadness, no in-betweens.
Okay. So bipolar is unlikely to be haunted.
Correct. It would be more like the Amber Heard diagnosis, histrionic personality disorder, or partial variety of personality disorders that validate the violence or the style of whatever they're using.
So what's
and
it
allow
like?
them to not have the actual awareness of what they're doing wrong.
Okay, what about we said about biting, what about kicking and hitting, viciously?
So now we're going to kid flailing with open hands versus hitting with closed fists.
Okay.
At what point does the fist become closed and the anger turn into rage, uncontrollable rage? There are times you just have to let the kid whack you out, knowing they're not intending to hurt you. Their arms are flailing out of the need to take control. And if they whack you across the face, is it really intentional? No.
There's
But
a lot of
if they clock back with a closed fist and whack you on the jaw, it is.
Yeah. I deal with a
Okay.
lot of bouncing from that. Yeah.
Right.
Going
Or
to the kids scrapping upstairs.
Right. If they accidentally, every man has had their children, knee them in the nuts or worse.
Yeah.
And I was considered the nut terrorist by my dad because every Sunday morning we'd all run into bed as kids, and I'd fly into bed elbow first, and I'd always end up with my elbow in his nuts. Okay, the boy, he'd turn sideways whenever I was coming to the bed out of flinch.
I do exactly the same thing. I always cover up as soon as they come in.
But yeah, if you're, a child that's being told off and just hits and lashes out at the parents or kicks is just pure frustration at not being heard.
No.
Go on.
There comes a moment where they've been not heard for so long, it becomes rage to get to know me, to notice me. And then that's attention-based rage disorder.
Okay.
Which is basically histrionic personality. If you don't pay attention and do exactly what I say, I'm going to beat you up.
Mhm.
Yeah, but that's nowhere near possession, is it?
Oftentimes, histrionic personality disorder people end up haunting ghosts. They attract ghosts inside them and feed off of their misery.
Okay.
And then they end up taking over small armies of these ghosts in an unawareness and sometimes in an awareness level too.
You see it in adults where people just live off of misery, or resentment, or they just live off of it, and you just know they've got hordes of ghosts around them. Yeah,
that's right. Well, Amy, let me let you go. We're going to bring on the next caller.
Thank you. See you guys.
See you later. Maty, do you want to pick the next one, bro?
Yeah, okay. So I am going to go for Jess Mullins. Signals from you.
Are you there, Jess?
Can you hear me?
Yes. Where are you calling from?
Austin, Texas.
Austin, Texas. Are we spooky scaring you?
Not much scares me, but it's interesting, definitely. Very intriguing. I've always been intrigued with the darker side of stuff, more of like a knowledge pursuit, I guess, since I was a child. I used to love horror movies as a child. I was always interested in demonology, and I grew up in a Methodist family, and my stepfather was Catholic, and at a very young age I started becoming more interested in like the Book of Revelations end of days type thing, like demons and angels type thing. So serial killers has always intrigued me too, a curiosity on how they work, how they tick, why they are the way they are.
Because there's esoterics to it, isn't there? You know, this is the thing with the horror movies, especially when you're exposed to that kind of religion. You kind of, but yet you see that the people within the religion are inauthentic. So therefore, you look to the other side for validation or some sort of competition. But you know, horror movies, they deal with esoteric concepts in a way that other movies just don't.
Yeah, a whole bunch of growing up, people used to get scared by like the Freddy Krueger or werewolf movies and stuff like that, and I was never scared as a child. I said the only movies that scare me are the ones that can actually happen. Like the supernatural ones were the ones that scared me, with the possessions and the hauntings and the Ouija board, and I was always intrigued towards the vampire side, the darker aspect. But
So have you got?
I guess. Go ahead.
Have you ever had
No.
anything? Sorry, have you actually had anything scary ever happen to you that was mystical? Like, have a ghost ever appear in front of you?
I've had, I've never like seen a ghost, but I've had many things happen starting at a young age. I guess my mom tells a story about when I was probably 2 years old, playing in the living room, and I just looked up, and I looked over to the wall, like a different area than she was, and I said, "Hi, man." Like there was a person really there, and I remember as a child waking up I don't know if I was waking up. I was half asleep probably, and I woke up with this sleep paralysis. And then I started having dreams that would come true. And I was always attracted to the dark, haunted houses and stuff. First time I ever got arrested, actually, we had broken into this hotel that was abandoned in Harbor Springs, Michigan, that Al Capone used to stay at during the run-rumming days. And we would go to this other place up in Goodhart, which was not that far from there, where there was an old burial ground. It was called Church Beach, and it was rumored to be haunted. And we would just go seeking these things. And then later, when I was in my early 20s, I ended up living in this house that was a block away from this church called Holy Childhood that became a nunnery. But back, way back in the colonial days, it was one of the places that has the trauma from mistreatment of indigenous people. The house I was at was 2 blocks away from the reservation there for the Odawa Indians. And it was a really old house. And I remember when I lived there, weird things happened. And later on, I started to, once I did all my clearing and I had my Kundalini awakening, I kind of put things back to that house, something attached to myself and my daughter when we were in that house. Because she ended up, like, both of us are light workers, both of us are awake, we've both had some traumatic lives. My daughter was born with 3 holes in her heart, and she had a traumatic life bringing up on her father's side because of her stepmother. But my daughter's had full-on psychotic episodes where she's being attacked by this entity she calls, well, she thinks it was herself in a different incarnation. I don't know if it is or not, but she had a name for it. It started with a Z. I can't remember what it was, but she said that the way she explained it to me is, my perception is it's more of a demon or some kind of an entity feeding off of her. Zelfast, that's what she called it. Zelfast was its name.
It sounds like ancestral haunting.
Yes, that's exactly what I raised my hand for. So in my teens or my 20s, I kind of that's when my abilities started coming on, and I started tapping into having prophetic dreams and just knowing things. Like I've looked into people's eyes and I've seen their demons looking back at me, knowing it was their demons. I'm like, that is not them, that's something dark. I've seen that since I was a teenager. But at some point in that awakening process, I had the realization that the women in my family line have been cursed for centuries. Like my grandmother lost her first husband when my mom was 9 years old. She has since, in 2018, my grandfather died. In 2019, my mom got stage 4 lung cancer and died 4 months later. I was born with, my daughter had 2 holes in her heart. We've had problems with holding on to love, like losing the love.
That's the lineage is cursed, not the individuals.
Yes, and then my cousin Dawn, she had issues and periods of abuse. Like all of the women in our family, I've noticed, have been targets in some way, shape, or form. And it brings me back to a dream I had as a child, where it was a very lucid dream, and I kind of flew over to where my grandma's side of the family, her brother lived, and that's where his 2 daughters lived, kind of where it might have originated or something. It seemed like some kind of a wolf. I had just watched some werewolf movie, I think it was when The Howling came out. And so it was like all my family was turning into werewolves. But we also have a Native American lineage. So I think maybe spirit walkers, or we were cursed somewhere along life. But my question is, I cleared all that for myself after I had my Kundalini awakening and started channeling light language the same day. I actually kind of did a whole exorcism on myself. Like I noticed the demon, I pulled it out, and I was following direction of angels is what I felt like. Archangel Michael was there guiding me, and I just knew who to call upon to be with me, to pull this demon out of me. And I pulled it out, and then I put my hands on the ground and I sent it down, and some very, very, very powerful light language came through to pull that all out. And I was told which crystals to grab, everything to do.
That was spiritually contracted for you to happen, for you to hold your power and witness the strength of it through your own expression.
Okay. So my question is, I've cleared it for myself, but I know our duty is to clear the ancestral trauma for future generations, but does what I did clear it for anyone that's alive currently, or do they have their own karma to play out? Am I just clearing it for the not yet incarnated female line?
So hold on. So those that have not yet incarnated, you have cured it 99%. For those that are incarnated, you have reduced its hold by 50%. That means the person has to put 51% effort in, and they will eliminate it for themselves in any other future lineages that they might have.
Okay.
This is the way ancestral karma. So you've already taken its power and cut it in half for all the future generations.
What about my children? Like my daughter's awake, but she doesn't know how to properly clear, and I have to be careful.
She will have to go through her journey of doing it on her own, which may be similar or not similar to yours. She has to go through her own self-generated process of purging. Okay, and it'll be different for everyone how it actually unfolds, and then she will have eliminated it in her.
Okay, my son is on the awakening journey, I've noticed, but he's
how old is he?
He's 22. He's more of a feminine energy because he was raised by us women. I've noticed he has a strong feminine energy present in him. But he's had a traumatic life too, like some of it because of me not being able to properly be there, but some of it was just because it happened. But he's leaning more towards stoicism, and I notice he's slowly awakening. And as far as calling on for protection, being their mother, even though they're adults, does that because I'm their mom, does that kind of have that loophole where me calling on the
No.
protection of your angels will not be?
You're fucking up your own journey.
You're gonna fuck up your journey or their journey.
Yep.
You have to convert you have to convert your mechanical process of purging demons into a prayer that they can accept. They
Okay.
have to know you're doing work on them.
Okay.
What will make you any different from the demons if you are clearing everyone's work and not allowing them to go through their own growth?
Okay. Basically,
Yes, I know. Hold on. I know that there's a lot of, extenuating circumstances that created this. You cannot take up mothering through spirituality. For everything that you missed, you can't replace it through spirituality.
Right. I've asked like my mom and my uncle, because I just recently had an uncle pass away. I've asked my ancestors to watch over them. And I did ask Archangel Michael and Raphael to watch over them and help them as they want or as they're able to, with that does not inflict their own free will.
So let me give you a perspective that you're not seeing.
Okay.
You're commanding an entity to give protection to something.
Well,
is that
if
arrogance? No. Stop. I'm not going to let you convert this because you're a converter. You actually have to see this for what it is.
Okay, it was a question though.
I know, because it's a diversion question. Yeah, which leads you down to the next argument because you've already validated this all the way through, and you will have a bit of an issue with what's coming up next.
Okay.
When one is commanding entities, what makes you no different than the entities being commanded by the dark?
Right.
Okay.
I see.
Therefore, your entire fundamental structure is actually not a positive interface for all beings that are a part of it. You have to create an infrastructure that's positive for all beings that acknowledges all of their free will aspects, including the negatives.
Yes, so when I asked, it was for their highest and best good on whatever their soul path.
Yeah, but you know that's light worker bullshit.
Okay.
Whose highest and best perception? Yours or theirs?
Yours. It's you that you're trying to make comfortable.
You're commanding it, and you're not realizing the infrastructure of what you're doing.
Okay. So basically just pray for them is what you're saying.
Make it a prayer, not a demand.
Yes. Okay.
And live your best life.
And it's going to be much harder than you think it is to convert it into a prayer, an offering they can accept.
That's what I've been working on. I'm very careful with my wording on that aspect because of what you just explained. And I do see it in myself the way I was before, how I always wanted to fix and heal, I sacrificed myself for that aspect. And that has been one of the biggest aspects of my shadow work that I've had to deal with, is seeing that in myself.
And so many people on this journey want to bring everybody else around them in on the journey. And you have to understand that the way that you got to where you are is not the way that everyone else will get to the way where they're going to go. It's a different process, and you can't make demands or put expectations or limits on people's experience. You just have to live your best life, do the best thing that you can, and then be the best person that you can for those around you that you love. Once a child reaches puberty, you really can't do much against them. Once a child reaches puberty, when you start to imprint these spiritual demands on people, you stop everybody's journey.
And what I did when all this,
I've done it as well myself. Honestly, I'm not speaking about it from judgment.
I asked Archangel Michael, I said, if there's any on my side, if there's any demons or entities that have attached to my daughter that I can clear for her, can I clear those now?
Okay, you need to break.
Why are you asking Archangel Michael?
Hold on. Break down your question. Break down your question. I asked my Archangel Michael.
And all angels assisting me and ancestors. I included. I just went with what was coming to me. I asked.
I understand that, but you got to listen. You got to break down the sentence here.
Yeah, I said I call it.
Understand?
Right.
Listen a second. You are in defense mode, and I understand why. What I'm trying to point out here is there comes a moment where we become a spiritual Karen in the other world and don't know it.
Yeah, I understand all that.
Let me finish. There comes a moment where you have no awareness, and it lessens your ability to speak to entities. Quite literally, they do far less and less and less of you. And the Archangel Michaels and the Vats, those are already lesser interactive entities for the process that you're looking for. If you're going to do anything, they would have been the fetus in your womb, and that the angelic protectors of them add something new to their dream as a prayer. And you would leave it at that. No commanding, no doing, exiting the external realm and going back to your internal realm. See what I'm trying to say? It's a completely different perspective, because there is no commands or demands, and unfortunately, prayer processes become commands and demands.
Right. Basically, I just wanted to say what I've already done. This is something I'm telling a story that I'd already done. I understand everything you're saying, but this is the story as it occurred that I wanted to get out.
Right. It was the sharing of the growth and all the things that you had to go through to be able to use your spirit to help combat in the other realms until such a time you realized what's an effective use of your energy.
Right. I ask when I call upon for clearing for myself, I ask every version of myself that is a powerful shaman or healer to assist me in clearing for myself. But like I've learned I do call in Archangel Michael just for the extra protection, but I also call upon
God and Great Spirit, the four elements, as many you call in as many things as you can. Yes.
I do.
Yes.
When I even do that when I'm smudging my house, I call in all of my ancestors for me, every different version of myself that is a powerful healer, a shaman, God, goddess, whatever. I go with it. It's a new thing every time, and as I clear the whole room, I call upon mostly I'm calling upon different versions of myself, higher dimensional, and then of course the four directions and spirit. Okay. I call upon all light beings that are with me, my light family, all beings of the love and the light that are assisting me. So
what you're doing is describing the external. What do you call on it that's the internal in you?
On me, I call upon my higher self, my oversoul.
No, it's still external. Your higher self is external. Come on. It will help balance out your calling journey when the internal aspects of you start to come forward as supportive factors that are not codependent on you. Okay, how the guides and the guardians work through you and work with you and can work communing with the higher levels.
So like my call upon within myself, like my
innocent and inner child who helps me play and understand. The 15-year-old me who was solid in life before anything negative came on, who looked to the great future as me, who's now calling back onto that child to pray for me today, and a shared circle of prayers externally and internally.
Of the version of myself that I'm becoming and I aspire to be.
Past, present, future, ancient, real, now. Yes.
Of the me that has survived
survived to get you to the point where you could pray for your children and learn from its great mysteries. Okay, the part that's been sorting you through the journey, right? Since day one.
Of the me that
yes,
that did not know any better at the time. All of that.
Right, all of those parts too. Make sure you call on them too.
Do that when I'm just doing a regular smudging of my house as well?
Yeah, make it a time to call up as many of them. Make it a habit. So you can begin to feel their presence.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I like that.
It's all the heart-connected pieces, isn't it? And the other thing, if I could just interject here, Andrew, is and Jess, the one thing I learned really in doing that inner work was that the more I was able to do that and, let's say, change myself, and I affected my DNA, I then had the trust that that would affect the DNA of my children and my grandchildren and so on. So I learned fairly early on through talking to Andrew how much I was treading on my children's journeys in this zealotness, that I needed and wanted to help them. And he said the best I could do was to blow them at just a gentle wind, that they would find their true and good soul family. And that's basically, with prayers, all I could do. And that the more I worked on myself and was able to, let's say, upgrade my DNA, the more that would help them. And that is, again, all the inner work.
And remember, you're still their
Yourself.
living, you're still their living mother, giving them ongoing experiences. So you will help them in the physical.
Yeah,
Okay.
just
Yeah, when I was doing the clearings for myself, I said I would also like to clear anything that we have agreed upon that I would clear for my children before incarnation, anything that I have caused directly, that any demons that I have brought into this lineage and any curses that I have brought upon either consciously or unconsciously, I would like to clear those now for myself and for my children and their future children. I was clearing for myself, but I said, and anything that has,
Right.
anything
Which is-
that I have brought onto my children.
That is a part of your greater connective journey of prayer into the higher awarenesses, because
Right.
that is saying you are aware that the higher awarenesses and the future generations of children planning their incarnations will want a mother who will have done that, have gone and done the due diligence in the physical and the spiritual world. So if they're ever going to be reborn to you again, or a new person's going to be reborn to you in another lifetime, they know the metal of the character of the soul.
I believe my daughter and I have incarnated together before.
Yes.
My
Hey, darling,
son, I'm not
darling, we got to let you go. We've got a bunch of other callers that we want to get through to.
Okay.
Thank you, Jess.
yeah. Thanks, Jess.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great teacher.
So
Thank
I saw
you.
somebody in the chat room asked how to kill a demon. Is that person's hand up? Eric?
No, Eric's hand's not up that I can see.
No, his hand.
Where is he? Would you like to speak to us, Eric?
No, is that no? Oh no, that's oh. It went for oh. No. Oh.
That was good.
We can,
Sorry.
it's easy to kill demons.
How do you kill demons then, Maty?
You know what? You'll figure it out.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell anyone how to kill a demon. You'll figure it out if you get to that point.
Yeah.
So should we unmute?
There are many things worse than death to a demon.
Mhm.
Yeah. Eric's here. Eric.
Hey, Eric, are you here?
So I'll ask.
His hand's up.
Hello?
There he is. Oh yeah.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey,
There we
where are you
go.
calling from?
I'm in Wisconsin right now.
Wisconsin. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So what was up with the asking of the question of to kill a demon? It's a Halloween show. We're allowed a little latitude to talk.
Yeah.
I was just kind of curious, but I don't really want to do that, but I was just kind
I
of
remember.
curious.
I
So it's
remember
just
you, Eric.
a curiosity question. Have you ever dealt with anything spooky in your life?
Yeah, well, I mean, I've looked at some things and I used to be kind of scared when I was young. I saw The Exorcist and that didn't let me sleep at night. But I don't think have experienced like an actual, besides like maybe some nightmares.
Have you done drugs, Eric? Have you been around people that take drugs?
I used to, not really drugs, more like drinking, like alcohol.
You must have seen possession there.
Yeah, most likely. But I try to keep my space clean, and yeah, just actually listening to Andrew's advice and stuff like that has actually helped a lot, actually, with just the nightmares and the bad energy and stuff.
So this is something that we haven't actually addressed. We've been talking a lot about demons within the physical realm, but many of the demons that I encounter in the dream world, right, Andrew? And many dream spaces as well that are haunted. And
Oh hell yeah!
these are
Whole realms.
These are quite easy to deal with, actually. It's just about the discipline of when you catch yourself in that sleep state. And there's many times that I've woken up and realized I've been in a dream world where I'm interacting with demons, that when I'm in that half asleep, half awake state, I don't actually have the motivation or the energy to be able to do what's needed to be done in the moment. And then other times where I do, where I'll realize what's just happened and I think to myself, no, I'm not having that. So I'll completely destroy their entire realm, everything they've built over however many thousand years it's took them. And I can do that in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been in the same situation, Maty, and just got up the next day and done what I needed to do in some sacred space. So have you got a daily prayer practice, Eric? Have we got the basics in place?
I did for a while, but I haven't recently. I need to start doing it again. For sure. I started slacking the last couple of weeks, to be honest.
So how long,
and I
how long
can
has
tell.
it been? How long has it been since you've known about Andrew and his information?
Pretty long time. I think 3-4 years.
3 or 4 years. And you've had a regular process for how long?
Wait, what was that?
You've had a regular process for how long? You do the meditations, you do the revocations, you do ritual and ceremony, you do all of that?
Well, when I first started, or when I was doing it pretty often, I got some crystals and did some revocations, and I did it pretty consistently until I felt it made a difference, and then I started slacking again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is what so many people do.
Fix. Yeah, quick
and you
fix.
see, this is what, when you hear people talk about demons and things like that. Now, if I walk into a room where there's a demon, it's not that I'm some kind of crazy badass motherfucker that they all run away from, but I kind of am in a way as well. That practice is what gives you that strength. The power of humans. This is what humans don't realize. The difference between someone who can destroy a demon and someone who can't is their belief. And it's about their instinct power. We're all humans, but it depends on our practice, how much we practice. And we don't practice to kill demons, we practice to free ourselves. And once we begin to free ourselves, demons can't touch us.
Yeah. I mean, they got shit on us.
Exactly.
And that's it. And like, went through my psychic surgery sessions as well, a lot of people obsess about entity removal. And I had a conversation with Andrew the other day about this. People obsess about entities. Oh, did you pick up an entity? Was there an entity there? And that's all they're focusing on. But realistically, in my sessions, it's about regenerating the person and allowing them to be present. And sometimes I do have beings which try and steal specific areas of the body. But that's just obviously just the nature of the beast, really. So it's trying to not be that obsessive about demons and just taking it with a pinch of salt. And if it happens, obviously being responsible and seeing those areas in your life which gives them power and trying to not give them power anymore.
Exactly.
And there are things worse than demons out there.
Yeah. All right, Eric, thanks a lot for calling in.
Thanks,
Eric.
Eric.
Okay,
Thank
we're going to
you.
move on
Bye-bye.
to, let's bring in Patty next. Somebody send her a signal to unmute.
Yeah.
Sure.
Hello there.
Oh,
Unmute again.
she did both.
I think I pressed it when it Andrew talked about that at the start as well. I think we had a
Don't take it personally,
Mute.
Patty.
How you doing, Patty?
Hi, Andrew. Hi, everyone. It's Patty. Can you hear me?
I can hear you fine. You're
Yeah.
beautiful.
Oh, perfect. Terrific. Andrew, we miss you. How are you? It's not the same. We're looking
Yes.
forward to Ireland. Good. Happy Halloween. I want to tell you a little bit about demonic possession because Theoni and I did take a course. We are professional clearers. And the thing what we have found with demonic possession, don't entangle, don't intertwine. We do have a path we give. We did it on our mother. It cleared it. For people, I only give it to people we would douse to see if you have demonic possession, and you can get it anywhere. My mother got her demonic possession at the hospital. It was the hospital in New York City, going to visit my brother.
Very
So
common.
when you're very in pain and sorrow, they attack you, they jump you, they can get you in the casino. If you go to a casino, you see these like reptilian things like eating at your brain. It's the nastiest thing to see. And I don't do clubs, I don't do casinos or any of that, but we do have baths for that. And in my home, I do have it's scalar energy. They're rings, and I have 2 of them in my home. And I have Numarenwa, and I protect my home with and you know it happens. Demons are real, and you have to be mindful. You know.
Remember some of those demons we saw in Egypt?
Yes, you walked away. And I didn't want to take any pictures in my phone because I didn't want that coming home with me. And then you cleared all our phones. Yeah. But I love Egypt. My dream was being on the Nile. So that was one of my life things.
It was a magical trip, and unfortunately I won't do another Egypt trip until the bureaucracy fixes itself there. It's gone absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. They are stealing people's shit left and right. Literally stealing people's stuff. Just like you if you want it, you got to pay $2,000 to get your computer. If not, they just take it, erase it, and reuse it for themselves.
That's horrible.
Yeah, the whole total breakdown of the bureaucracy over there.
Yeah, no good. How are you doing, Andrew? I want to ask you a question because it's something you've never talked about, and it's astrology. You don't talk about Aries, or you don't talk. Why don't
every
you
now
talk
and
about
then? Every now and then I do. Recently, I talked about Saturn and Venus getting hit and how it was going to scramble the astrological world for the Logos energies.
Oh, I missed that because I believe the moment you're born, the time you want to enter this earth means so much. Because like I said before in the comments, I took an astrology course many years ago, and they had 5 birth dates, and they're all very dark beings, very psychotic, very the man that was Hispanic that stayed in the hotel in California, it had mother in his death chart. And when he came out of jail, the first thing he did is kill his mother, and he killed himself. Oh, it's at the hotel. Anyway, but and then the other one was Bill Clinton, and he was a sex pot, sex symbol, and that all showed up in their charts. Was the deaths and the sex and all that stuff. Yeah, very interesting.
So charts are very weird. I believe more in the person reading than the chart or system itself. So here, I'll give you a little, and I've said this before. So if you believe in the reader, and the reader's just using a system to the point where the system is just a secondary way of describing something that is multidimensional vision. When we are born in an exact space-time, that is your space-time location or signature frequency moment of birth, where all spiritual contracts in the physical world begin. That's where an energy exchange when systems are created. So it's a vital piece of wisdom to know about something, or it's a vital piece of wisdom that helps something evolve and grow into something even greater. And astrology as a perception was blended into the old school of spilling the guts and reading the entrails, or any of the other crazy things they did back then, and through sacrifice. Astrology was something that was able to bypass the need for sacrifice and go straight into the mind's observation of the stars, the positions, and the little types of energies that one was perceiving to create a system future generations would be able to understand. So astrologists in the very beginning were also alchemists. They were all one and the same, and they were studying the heretical teachings of Thoth and Hermes and whoever else's heretical teachings were being survived at the moment when the churches were suppressing them. Okay. And those heretical people were also looking at the stars, just like we do today, except they have no television and internet and social media, and talking to the stars and talking to the planetary minds like celestial communicators.
Right.
So most astrologists are how do I put this? Share a close friendship with celestial minds. Okay, you know them.
Yeah.
You've been there, you've lived on their world many times, and living here, you know what their energies are here. You're going to be a great interpreter of their material.
We're given a limited version of celestial influence as well, aren't we, Andrew?
Yeah.
There's a lot more celestial influence than what we know in our narrative and what people put in their charts. So you're missing a whole big piece of the puzzle.
And what we can comprehend.
Well, as we get more and more access to the subterranean worlds, there are subterranean location points that can be added to astrological charting that can give a much more complete understanding of the being from the higher to the middle to the lower realms.
I also believe where you live is very important as well.
Huge.
If you're living
Huge.
here, yeah, it's important to know where the ley lines are. And yeah, I agree as well. Yeah. So anyone that does have any demonic that you want to deal with, well, it's only for the person. My sister and I do have a bath we can send you, but we would douse first to see, because we really don't want to give that information, not only if people are just severely, who have demons or and in your home. Yeah. Yeah, and very troubled. Yeah, my family was bipolar, biomanic. Both my brothers had demonic possession. One actually jumped my sister, and she had to clear herself. And the other one, we did our mom, and we had permission to clear our mom, and she died, like a year after. So yeah, it's not something to joke about. It's really serious. And I won't entice them. I wouldn't entangle with them. Just let them be there and keep your space very safe and sacred. Yeah.
You live up your life.
And also demons are very common. People think, oh my God, there's a demon, there's something massively wrong with me. They're very common.
They're everywhere. They're in our fire station and the monasteries. And like I said before, our churches are infested with them because people come with their fears and they drop all their crap there and they're praying.
Their judgment.
Yeah. And when they see you weak and you're in sorrow, that's when they feed off your energy and then you get sick, and I do believe pets take that away. I do believe pets, if you don't have animals, I believe they take your disease, whether it's cancer or arthritis or anything. I think pets, we don't talk about pets so much, but pets are very important in our lives. So, yes.
Let's do a show on pets. Let's do a show on pets.
Yeah. Oh, we are good. Wonderful. Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah.
Great.
All right, Patty, thanks a lot for calling in.
Thanks, you, Andrew. Love to all.
Don't be a stranger. Come on to some more shows.
I will. Okay, I will.
Yeah, lovely.
All right, let's bring on Janice Millard. I haven't seen that name in a very long time.
Hey,
Janice, you there?
Here. I'm in the process of doing my Halloween makeup, so
Hey then. Hey, finally someone made the effort out of all of us.
Don't be like that. Mine didn't work.
Yeah, I love this stuff. Nice to see you. Thank you for taking me on the show. Yeah, I find it ironic, Andrew, that you recognize my name. It's been 10 years to the day that I had a reading with you. So I found
That's not irony then. It's not irony.
I'm supposed to be working and I took the day off and I thought, oh, there's a show. I'm going to catch this for once. And you were taking colors and sharing stories. So I'm so glad to be part of this. So thank you. And 10 years to the day is kind of ironic, but lots of mystical experiences, you said. So I just wanted to share one where I had a dream time and I went back in and I was 3 and there's big, huge black being. And I don't watch TV or gore like that because my imagination is worse than what I see out there. But it was this big, tall black being and it took me. And, that was one thing. And I always say, my mind can't make that shit up. I don't have that kind of a creative imagination. So I've had that experience and then waking out of lucid time and dream time. And there's a being standing at the end of my bed who's got some sort of like a space trek thing. And it's like click, click, click. And he's doing these things. So I've had so many things. And you're talking about things flying across the room. I had a metal ruler fly across the room. So I just want to say thank you because I think I'm wacko. But when I hear that other people have experiences, I also I teach high school. And so when Amy was talking about, you see it in their eyes. And I've had beings jump out of that student into me. And I've had to learn to do, your spiritual revocations and the clearing and everything. And it's the only way I've survived in this planet, because there's been way too many experiences that, I could just go on and on and on. And I didn't recognize that until I joined the show today. I thought I was just kind of going through life easily without too much, but there's been many, many experiences.
All right, so this show has affected you on many different levels, actually.
It just brought up a lot of stuff I didn't. I just, as
Holy fuck, that happened.
I talk about how we justify a lot of it. And I think that's how I felt mentally safe, just trying to separate what actually had happened to me. And Andrew, you guided me many years ago about what was going to occur. And it's just, I think it's just starting to open to a bigger level, and I'm aware of it, and I just kind of tuck it away. Nobody knows about that part of my life. And so I felt kind of safe coming on and showing my face literally and going,
well, thank you for coming on. I mean, that's so cool. 10 years to the day, and I recognized your name. 12 years after, I think I don't remember you. I do.
Can't hide anymore, right? So.
Exactly. I remember you. I may mix them up every now and then, but I remember them.
Wow, that's mind-blowing, literally. But I just want to say thank you for having the show and letting us come on and share our stories, because it is a bit of a challenge. I say that's my normal world. Being here in this body on this planet is kind of my abnormal world that I have to deal with, as a teacher, mom, all the other roles that we put on. And today I'm going to go do my face like Dale has, so I'm going to get there eventually.
Thank you.
I love doing special effects. Like, if I could show you my one face that I did years ago, I don't know, maybe there's the dark side of myself that I allow myself to express through the special effects.
Absolutely. Do you know, I wanted to come on as a baby raping wizard lizard. That's what I wanted to do. And I had the contact lenses.
Oh yeah,
the teeth and all this, and just before we came on air, I was trying to put them in, and my eyes were getting red, and it wouldn't go in, and I was blinking them out, and I just had to give up. But
it was a demon, mate.
No, mate, no. But, I so wanted to dress up. I really wanted, and I wanted
that's my next step. I will have the red contacts in later.
Contacts, lenses,
but this was the first. That was the first one that I did with special effects. And then, then I get a little bit more ghoulish.
Very good.
So
I love to express that dark side of myself through that kind of stuff.
There's something about painting your face, and when I've painted my face before, like that, just expression of you're not yourself anymore. You're able to explore different layers, not personalized is the wrong word, but layers to yourself. And it's beautiful. I like.
So here's a question, Andrew. Here's a question, Andrew. So when we see some of these tribes and they use different masks and so forth, is it possible to create temporary possession through masks or painting of the body?
Yes, or to make the objects that you're making a fetish, which you purposely invite a spirit to stay inside and inhabit it a long period of time, or you begin collecting spirits as part of service to a land, who will then give service to an object, which becomes a stronger fetish.
So positive, negative, and all in between.
Yes. And then there are trophies which have the enchantment of magic on them, but trophies are still like, what's the purpose behind it? Okay. Like a serial killer trophy is radically different than a bowling trophy from 9th grade. Yeah. Okay. But I still look at my bowling trophy and go, God damn, I was good that year. And I did like a 270. Okay. Never got that good again. Okay. All right, Janice, thanks a lot for showing up exactly 10 years later.
Yeah.
I couldn't
leave it another 10 years to the next time.
Yeah, another 10 years to the day.
You'll be ascended by then, Laura, won't we?
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Janice.
Thanks, Janice.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
All right, so let's bring on Trent and Amanda next. They have studiously had their hands up.
Where's our little couple?
Hello.
Hey Andrew, hi guys. Let me get
Good.
this
How you doing?
video on.
Little couple right here.
Hello, little couple.
Oh,
look.
they're dressed up.
We're about to go out with the kids in a little bit here.
Oh, gotta go trick or treating.
We're going as a light worker.
Yeah, I know, right? I'm like, I'm a shaman every day. I'm going as a shaman. Very original. Yeah, I thought about that before the show, Maty. Thanks. But you know what? I seen you guys dressed up. I'm like, fuck. I'm just going to throw the llama poncho on, make it work.
That's what I did, mate. I winged it.
Yeah, see Dale first. Then I seen Laura. I'm like, all right, it's on. I'm like, babe, go throw your thing on.
It's on like Donkey Kong, biatch.
Yo. So how are you guys doing today?
Tired. Us in the UK. This is always quite late for us. So I mean, for you guys, it's whatever time it is, but for us, it's not really late. It's like 8 o'clock PM.
Yeah.
Well, that's late if you're on a schedule.
Yeah.
Which you probably are, knowing you.
Yeah.
Especially
it's 3:55 here for us right now.
Have you got any spooky stories to share then, brother?
Yeah, I actually.
Amanda had a really spooky story.
I had a very haunted childhood, and there was a lot that went on. One story that sticks out in particular. I was around 14 or 15 years old. I was living back and forth between my mom and my dad's house. Both houses were haunted. Both houses were right next to a cemetery. This particular instance happened at my mom's house. So what happened was I went into my laundry room and I found a little ring box, and it had a ring in it, and it was a ruby ring. It had diamonds on it. It was a beautiful ring. And so I asked around, I'm like, where did this ring come from? I asked my parents, and, I asked around the household, and no one had, had any idea where it came from. So I put it on. And after that, my life kind of started going into a spiral. There was like drugs and alcohol involved. I was having a lot of issues at school and stuff like that. And at some point, I realized that I was possessed by a demon. It just had come to me that I was. And, when I realized this, I took the ring off and I ended up smashing the ring and getting rid of the ring. And I remember one night in particular, I was in my bed and I was just, crying soul cries, like, get this thing out of me, get this thing out of me. And I was praying to God, and I know the angelics were present with me. And at some point I felt it released from me, and I felt like I was released from it. But my question was, I was trying to get clarity around the situation of where the ring came from and what exactly happened.
It'd be awesome.
It was a cursed object.
Yeah. So it just appeared.
Hold on. No. This is a lineage situation. Cursed objects they frequently appear out of nowhere. They just teleport and they're there.
Right.
Cursed objects come from another space-time and then enter another space-time when a contract comes due. Now, that ring puts you into a world of drugs and et cetera, et cetera. Did it put it into the world of sexuality too, drugs and sexuality and all that stuff that goes with it? Yeah. You don't have to give me details, but how much did you degrade yourself for it?
It was more the drugs and the alcohol than the sex. I was a little promiscuous, but nothing too crazy.
No, degrade. Let's like, what degraded you from doing all the partying and et cetera, et cetera?
What do you mean by that?
What did it destroy in you?
Oh, well, I had a rough childhood. I've been through a lot of trauma, as we all have. So I was experimenting before that time. And it was just, a feeling of self-hate and disappointment in myself and feeling like I wasn't worthy and that I didn't fit in.
When you put the ring on, you had enough self-hate and self-doubt in you to trigger the curse.
Right.
But the ring, you destroyed it and then battled it, meaning the last lifetime that you had done, You had defeated this ring before, and this ring was going to try to get into your children through your bad parenting. Another way around. Thus you defeated it, and it's not being passed on to the children. It's breaking the shamanic links of what it can have.
Yeah, because, you know, my children have had kind of a rough experience as well. And, you know, recently my middle child has been going through some situations where I felt like maybe she was going through the same thing. And just recently, the other night, we were in the bedroom just hanging out, doing what we do. I don't know, we were doing a healing or something.
And something pushed Kylie down the steps.
Yeah. There's something
She
that,
rolled
and
down the
early,
steps.
we were carving pumpkins earlier that evening, and I had seen a shadow behind me that wasn't supposed to, I mean, it wasn't supposed to be there. I don't know exactly what it was. I think I know what it was. But there was definitely something going on in the home that night, and it was trying to create chaos.
It was creating chaos.
Well, yeah, because, you know, the youngest two were fighting. My oldest child had come to spend time with us, and the energy was very chaotic. And it seems like every time we get together as a family, it becomes very chaotic. It's like they don't want us, whatever it is, doesn't want us to be happy.
It's like whatever it is isn't a part of the family and is trying to destroy the happiness of the family, because it can no longer live vicariously through one of us because we expelled it. And I believe that
how does it still have power to be in your reality if you've expelled it?
Well, I don't know if there's some kind of, you know, well, basically, I think that it has to do with my ex. There was some trauma that we went through with him. You know, he had done some things to my children, and he lived here where we're at now. And so he knows the place, and he's very powerful in himself. So I think,
and he's in prison right now doing
Yes.
14 years with nothing to do but travel astral and fucking haunt people.
so I don't know if that's exactly what's happening, but that is what my feeling was. And we've been doing ceremony, and we've been doing, you know, all kind of healing and clearings and stuff like that. And I'm wondering, is there something in me that's still holding on to it? And is there something I can do to let that go or to release my family from that?
Alcohol alchemy.
I think if
Alcohol
you're
alchemy.
asking, I think
So-
if you're asking, then probably you're holding on to something, right?
Well, that's,
Well,
yeah, that's what I'm,
you are holding other things, wrong perspectives.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
so is it a forgiveness thing?
No, it's a perspective change.
Okay.
Hold on one second.
So we basically got to see the higher workings that we all, including him, set in place to make this happen for this to happen right now.
No, it's not
Instead
just
of-
that. It's you got to make it down to it's a perception change in her. The perception is it has access because I don't know if I've done all the work or not.
Okay.
There's a way to
That's
make
so
yourself
you.
have done the work or not.
Okay, so I
You
just basically have to believe in myself when I claim sovereignty from it, because I continue to do
And
that.
then
But
you need to break its infrastructures.
okay.
Something that I was talking about earlier in the show, especially with the serial killers. And when I encounter things that are aggressive to me, I go after their boss and their boss and their boss and their boss beyond them until
Okay.
I've cleared out several thousand realms, and knowing that it'll take them thousands of years to regenerate the infrastructure. You haven't done that.
No, we've been trying
Because
to.
you're afraid if you use that power, you'll become as bad as them. And that's
Yeah,
the other
that is
part
a
of the
fear.
curse and the temptation. That's why we did the throat work on you a couple of weeks ago. It's all the same thing. You can't hold your power. You believed you become a cursed witch family.
Yeah, I do. And I have Pluto in my South Node in the 4th house, which means that a lot of my past life karma is centered around power and ancestral curses and you know, transformation in the family. And like, it's just like a constant like battle.
Transformation.
Yeah. And it's like, where does it end? How does it end? And I have myself stuck in this pattern of like, I feel like I can't break free from that, or I don't know how to rise above that. And it's like, I can heal everyone else. Like, why can't I heal myself?
Because you don't
For your own
go
personal
through a-
alchemy.
Mhm. And you're not
Is
giving yourself personal expansion times where you allow the expansion to set in. You're growing too fast.
Okay, so it's almost like I'm like intimidated by my own power.
Yes. Afraid of it,
Okay.
is a better word.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I am, because I have so much rage and anger in me, and I'm afraid what I might do if I claim my power from me.
And you can
You're afraid that you'll lose your moral code.
and
We
you
have
can
to realize
use it.
that
You can use a lot of that
claiming
rage and anger frequencies to flip it and put that into obviously the intention of the home and doing regularly prayers, clearing it out. So what type of regular clearing do you do on the house specifically?
We do a lot of saging, a lot of prayer, a lot of speaking. When we're doing the saging and prayer, we do Palo Santo. We have candles lit every day. I mean, we have incense lit every day. We clear the kids' rooms, the bathrooms. I mean, this is definitely a daily practice for us. I don't know if it's like, why does it keep coming back?
So hang on a minute. So Dale, what they've just described there to you, what level of spiritual hygiene is that? What would you say that is?
I'd say
A D
maybe,
minus.
say DC.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So there are much broader, much more powerful processes that you can do that imprint onto the land where you are, first and foremost. Obviously, you've got your own personal journey going on that Andrew was just talking to you about. But where it comes to your actual property, where you live, you can solidify that so much more. I mentioned alcohol alchemy. Brewing alcohol, putting prayer into alcohol is one of the most powerful alchemical processes you can do to protect a property. I mean, I myself was dealing with not so much a demonic possession, but an ancestral possession that was sexual based, that was based in promiscuity, and it was degrading, and it was brewing of alcohol, and then the place, just a beer or a wine, and putting the contract revocations, about 15 hours worth of prayer into the alcohol, and then putting it into bottles, and then I would put a bottle of this alcohol in each corner of the house, upstairs, downstairs, and then buried some in the property, and then put in the corners of the property and the four corners itself. And then I went and did another brew, and then I refined that brew and processed that into a spirit, offered some, put some more out in the corners. And so it's just an ongoing process of creating broader and broader alchemy. And once you stop, because you're not just dealing with just what you've been talking about, you're dealing with all kinds of stuff coming and wandering on your property.
Yeah,
While you're in that
we
state
live
of
in an
fear,
area that's not that great.
it's
So there's
so
a lot
easy
of
to
negative.
stop. It's so easy to stop. I mean, it's honestly, it's the same as cleaning your house, just hoovering the carpet. It's so easy to stop.
Have you heard about grandmother soups, Amanda?
No.
I like the sound of this grandmother's.
So
You don't get to eat it.
No, they're as effective as Maty's style of alcohol as brewing.
Alcohol lasts longer. Alcohol lasts for years. The soup lasts for weeks.
Okay, so you can take some old chicken bones and get a big pot on the stove, and I used to open it up like sacred space, so I might have some objects around, and call in whatever you like to call in, 7 directions, 4 winds, spiritual courts of equity, and so on. And as that soup comes to the boil, you can add veg, you can have herbs, whatever you want to it. And as that's coming to the boil, you can stand and read revocations to it. So sometimes I would take between 2 and 4 hours to do this. And then you might want to get a chair and sit next to it as it steams. You speak to it as it cools down, you can speak to it. And then I would take some and put it in plastic little pots, and I'd freeze some. And then, that's what I would do my land work with, my ancestral offerings. But what was left, you strain all of it. So what was left, might put in a pot and go out onto the lands and pour, actually along the boundaries. I didn't have a very big property, just pour in the corners of your boundaries, so outside. And all the time I would say prayers, and you'd already done revocations, you're already instilling and putting your frequency of protection and so on into this soup. And it's also, not only is it, you can make it an offering to the land and an offering to the ancestors of the land.
We've been doing that a lot lately.
Fabulous. And it's the doing of all these different processes, as Maty and Dale and Andrew have been saying. It's the variety of the toolbox you use. And it's in some ways being unpredictable. So the fact you sage and everything every day is wonderful, but it's also very predictable. And part of doing the shamanic practices is you want a degree of unpredictability about it, and you can invent some of your own. I would actually write out a revocation and I would put it in water. So the words of my handwritten revocation, the ink was in that water. And that was
then you could freeze it, boil it, 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 freeze it, boil it. Keep doing the
prayers, right?
Yeah, each has a level of alchemy, and each time you do that, you can then read some more revocations over it and so on. And you're building up these layers.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I was going to suggest too, with the broth, before you said it, though, letting it dry up and using those bones, because the bones break down and it literally puts the frequency into the earth.
Yeah, we could use them as an offering.
Yeah.
But listen, it's about life and energy. What is alive? What continues to produce? This is why alcohol is so great at this, because it lives for so long. There are many other different versions of this, but alcohol specifically, what Laura was just talking about then, is a beautiful once a month ceremony on a full moon or something. You go and you put your prayers in, you protect your property. Alcohol is alive. It's a living being, and it radiates continuously the prayer that you put into it. And when you put those kind of prayers into it, actually what you do is you invite angelic consciousness into those alcohols. And they will protect your space like the ancestors do. They will wander the perimeters of your space and protect your space. So the kind of influences that you're talking about, that you're dealing with right now, won't be an issue for you. So you can tackle your own individual issues yourselves without all of this external influence pressing down.
Maty, because it's Halloween.
Yeah.
And we know that these two are pretty industrious.
Yes.
Let's lay something down of how to brew. We're going to do a simple brew.
Get my notes.
Get the notebook, baby.
Okay, let me double check. All right, so are you on your phone? Just go to Amazon and look for beer brewing kit.
Got it.
Okay.
This is how I do it.
I also wanted to add something, Maty. I don't know if you're doing it already, but you could add a crystal inside that jar and just literally magnify everything.
So I put crystals, and I also grow my own cannabis. And I have, we've talked about this. I have an open relationship with the cannabis plant. She is my teacher and my sister. And so also I'll take the cannabis that I've always got my prayer into and put that into the alcohol as well. There's many different ways that I expand on the frequency of this alcohol. What we're giving you is the basics of chemical protection.
So do you see on Amazon what's it cost? About $50?
Yeah, they're like 50, 60. There's some for 100.
You don't need an expensive one that just comes with bottles. Okay, that's it. Okay, and it's really simple. It's really simple.
Like this is what I use.
Okay.
That's for your wort.
Yeah, no, this way. So I buy it in a can from a shop called Wilco's in England, and it's about 20 quid. So that's about $15-16. And then I put it into here with some brewer's sugar, fill it up to this point, and then I leave it for about 2 weeks. And this is where I put the prayer into it. And then from that point, it goes into the bottles. And then there's a lot more prayer put into it. That's when it goes onto my altar. And so this will just have a little and a hole there at the top. You can see it's well used.
Into it.
And a hole there at the top. That's where there'll be a little thing that just stops the air from getting back in. Yeah.
So it's that simple. It's that simple for everyone. So when he is making that thing that lasts for 2 weeks, the yeast, the things that have made it come alive, are growing. And that 2-week period, you have to understand, is where you're imprinting your greatest concepts to. And so if you are able to do, let's say you're able to put the barrel in an area that's going to be prayer centric for you for the next 2 weeks. Okay. So let's say maybe you want to move it to, no, you've got kids.
We'll build a little altar in the office or something.
Yeah, you could build an altar just for it. Okay.
Yeah.
Where you can, at a moment of the hat, walk in there, give prayers to it, and then roughly record how much effort you put into it. Okay.
Okay.
Because at the end of that 2 weeks, you do want a number that says, did I put 5 real hours into it? 1? What's the honest truth of imprinting?
20 hours? That would be better. Yeah.
Okay. 100 hours in 2 weeks between 2 people, easy could be done.
Yeah.
So some of the things that you want to add into it, knowing that you have an ancestral entity that likes to screw with your stuff, knowing that you're going to bring it down into bottles and spreading it into areas under kids' beds, etc., etc. You can make it like a specialized personal bodyguard system while in the house. Everybody that comes in and out of the house is patted down for entities, and entities are removed off of their skin before they come in.
See your galactic card, babe.
Yes. Okay. Okay.
I call mine Gem.
Every spirit's ID'd before they come in.
My system actually has a name. It's called Gem. And so when you walk into my house, Gem is almost like an AI. And this AI scans everybody that comes onto the property. I can move it around. There's times where I can bring the bottles all from the rooms and on, say, like a summer solstice, and I'll put them all around the fire pit, and then we can have a big ceremony and charge them up. But it's almost like an AI. It really is. It's like an angelic intelligence.
Right.
Yeah.
Because once you brew these things, you can bring them out of their place and add even more energy to them. Because literally these beers will stay alive a decade plus because you're not intending to drink them. You're giving them the specific purpose to be sentinels, guardians, guides, filters on the land.
And that's why it's so important to brew your own instead of speaking it into an already existing spirit that's already has a spirit.
Exactly.
But you can do that if you're pushed for if you're pushed and brewing of alcohol is absolutely not possible for you, then you can still get other alcohol and use that alchemy. It's about the effort that you put into it.
Yeah.
But there are others. I mean, I've got a small I've got 2 small distillers. And so then what I'll do is take that beer and then put it through the distiller and produce wine. Is my favorite to do this to actually. I'll produce a red wine, but because the beauty of this is that you don't have to go through the clearing process. So once you've actually gone through the fermentation process and you've got a cloudy wine, you can then put it through the distiller and distill it into pure alcohol, which would be like a brandy or a grappa, which then is.
And that refinement through one fermentation to the distilling is up-leveling the spirit inside there to be even more potent. And you can triple distill stuff to get such the refinement in one specific bottle that what's in that bottle is refined for that specific purpose. Kill or slay anything that is going to do harm to this house.
Exactly.
Awesome. Trent,
and then you can take
having a good time over here.
You can take a small amount of that as well. So I took 1 bottle of that was a miscellaneous bottle, and I kept it in the kids' room just for a while, just because it's such a powerful thing. And I kept it in the kids' room, and then eventually didn't want it. So then I asked it, and you have to speak to these things. And it became then every time I have a fire, because I have indoor fires and outdoor fires. And the indoor fires are alcohol based, where I burn alcohol in a salt crystal.
We just learned about that yesterday, listening to one of Andrew's older videos.
Andrew and I, we're going to release a series on this. And so what I will do is, before I put the isopropanol alcohol in there, I'll just put a thimble full of the alcohol that I brewed with all my prayer in, and it amplifies again. So it's about what can you do to amplify every prayer, every ceremony, every ritual that you make with your own alchemical creation. When you do that, you imprint on your land so much that nothing will be able to fuck with you.
Awesome.
I love that. And you don't have to cleanse this because it's self-cleansing, right? The high proof
It's your
alcohol.
prayer that does it. It's your prayer. And the thing is, your daily process, you don't have to, you can do, but you don't have to separate your daily process to your alchemical process. You can use your daily prayers and put them into your alchemy, so everything pays back.
That's awesome.
That's so smart. Yeah, which is what you should be doing.
I'm trying to
That's
maximize
right.
that.
Even the heart meditation, things like that. What happens instead of doing it on your earphones, you play it out loud on a speaker next to the alcohol, and you go through that process with the alcohol. You know, there's so many different ways that you can make your daily process work for you in the long run, past, present, future.
I like the way you think, my man.
No.
I like
Well,
the
I've got a
way
good teacher. I've got the best teacher.
I want to add something. So most is like kill or slay or transmute or shift. There are certain entities in certain situations that when they have a bloodlust on, you have no choice but to kill, or they will kill something in front of you.
Right.
and I
they
can
force
vouch
that as
for
a
that.
thing. Right.
I
That's
can
why I
vouch for
like
that.
to. Yeah. I
Sorry.
like to use electric eels in a defensive system. It's like they instantly come into the aura and will just shatter whatever's there, or a variety of swords and weapons, etc. Because you need an instant flash something. That's why I say if you triple, quadruple, septuple distill something for one specific purpose, if something's going to murder my child, may the force of this stuff come through the reality and make a manifestation of defense of that child.
Yes,
Okay?
absolutely.
Or this child is in need of healing and has had the breakage of faith. May the spirit within this place help replace their faith.
Yes, we need
There's
that.
so many individual programs that you could give to those refined systems.
Okay.
It'll be how intricate do you want to go? So
We're
with
gonna
a
go all the way, baby.
With a $50 buy-in, and the rest is your time, because all spirituality is DIY.
and you can have 4 bottles of beer. You can have 4 bottles of beer or 4 bottles of wine that go in a specific child's bedroom. That particular child is having certain issues, and then you can take those individual bottles and program something individual into those bottles. It doesn't have to be generic. You can laser focus.
Literal, exact what you want.
Yeah, I might have to hide it in the walls.
Yes. Okay.
We'll just mix it with something that looks gross so the kids don't drink it.
Well, no, the bottles will be sealed. They won't even be able to open them. Don't worry.
Yeah.
And you could wax the tops of them too, so you know if anybody's screwing them.
Yeah.
Okay. And then put your own imprint into it. There's all sorts of seal markers that you could put on bottles too, that makes the energies even more potent.
Another thing that I like to do is I like to, let's say I'm brewing a beer or a wine, and the instructions say to use, I'm just going to pull this out of my arse, let's say 20 liters of water. So I'll purposefully only use 10, because that will not only increase the strength of the alcohol, it also makes it taste like shit.
He's not drinking. And since he's not drinking it, he has a different purpose from the beginning. So it'll absorb the pureness of his prayers. Because if he added more water, it would not have been the efficiency level he wants.
Right.
Because it's not drinkable. I'm making it purposely not drinkable.
Yeah. All right.
Keeping the heads in there.
With that being said, now I want you just to go on YouTube and type in home distillery, and this is for an exercise for everyone out there.
Tabletop distillery.
Moonshiners.com.
Yes.
That's a great site.
It's funny because I was telling Amanda like a few months ago, I'm like, I'm gonna get a shine for the tinctures, and I guess I need it for other things now too.
All right, so right there, you'll see 100 ways of how to do it on your own stove with basically a pressure cooker and a plastic bucket. Okay,
nice.
It's that easy. You could also go and buy mini stills on Amazon for $80 to $150.
Yeah,
there are little ones, big ones that pre-do it. If you're going to say my next level is alcohol shamaning and the things that I can do with it because of what's in the environment of my home, we'll do the beer, and as soon as you're done with the beer, buy the next one. Okay?
Awesome.
Because it'll be virtually the same learning process for you. Because there'll be times, you know what? I'm going to brew this beer and there's going to be too many bottles around the house. This is where I can give away to friends and family, or begin to take out to nature and recycle some of the things that you're putting into spirit to sacred grove tree areas where you bury it and forget it. It is an offering to the land.
Yes.
That
we
it
do
now
that
has
a
the
lot.
sentinels and protection. And that's another way to upgrade your personal abilities to give things, because certain bottles reach a point, it needs to go 10 miles that way or the next hike that you do. Okay. Spreading
we
wisdom.
could bring them to each of the spots, the new spots that we go to grid. We can bring these things with us.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then there'll be
nothing
certain
is
ones
going to
that
step
want
on
to,
your.
yeah,
Sorry,
there'll be
go on,
certain
Andrew.
ones that want to journey with you.
Yeah.
I have one special one that's my own one. It was one of the first brews that I did, and it's just a bottle of beer. And I've done much better brews since that. But that one bottle has been with me for years and years and years and years. I mean, now it just sits on my altar. It used to be with me everywhere I went, next to my bed, every night I slept. But they're special, and
Yes.
you can also add. Each time you do one, you can take a piece of the previous one and add it to the next one, because you're not going to drink it. It doesn't matter what it tastes like. You add it and add it and add it and add it and add it.
Just so everybody knows, just so everyone knows, out there on Amazon right now from China are home distillery things that fit on your stove from $60 to $700. Okay. Most of these are so shitty in making, you're never going to get good drinking alcohol out of them. But for this purpose, it's perfect.
Okay.
Okay. For this purpose,
All right.
it's perfect. Is they're that cheap. If you just go onto Amazon and just type in home distillery kit, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Okay?
And there's another thing here. Go on, Andrew. I was going to say, I'll give you a warning, guys, that everyone's going to want to taste the alcohol as it's coming out. Well, when you refine alcohol from a wine or a beer, and you first start to produce it, the first amount of alcohol is poisonous.
It's the heads, right? You just dump them.
The heads, the mids. You can taste as you go along, so you know when it's becoming watery. But just be careful in that first process, because it's extremely.
This is where you got to pick up. This is where you got to pick up books, watch YouTube videos, etc., etc. But that first shit that comes out is highly flammable.
Yeah.
It is what I call wildfire. And if you start saving your drippings of wildfire, you will get a jar of wildfire that you will be able to save for ceremonies in which you need this wild energy to take over and just infuse the land with this wild frequency.
Okay.
Okay.
So you're saving the heads up?
Yeah, saving the heads. Like what I'll do is I'll get a big glass jar to save the heads. Hold on a second. I'm on the wrong devices here.
Multi-dimensional.
Hold on. I'll just leave this one. So I'll save it, and then I'll start dipping pieces of very small dried wood into the head jars. And then I take them out one at a time, and I'll throw them into the fire, or I'll wrap them in a cloth, and then I'll put them in the freezer so not all the alcohol evaporates out of them. And when I'm ready to use them, I'm putting prayers into them in between the times that they're in the freezer, imprinting on that wild energy, because I know I have a subject I need to go wild with.
Love that.
Okay.
And the little piece of wood prevents the alcohol from escaping and stuff, right?
No,
the wood's poked in there.
No, I submerge it in it. It's a pretty big jar. It's a pretty big jar. It's like a 2-liter jar.
Okay.
So the piece of wood's like, maybe 9 inches long, 2 inches thick, maybe 3 inches thick. Like it's going to be in there for a long time, and it will break down. The alcohol will begin to break it down. And the key is you guys got to take it out and then wrap it right away and freeze it, or take it right to the fire and use it, and you will watch pure wildfire. Okay.
And then you have the energy of the trees. Yeah. You've got the energy of the trees, the energy of the alcohol. This is what we're saying. If you have these kind of things that are affecting you guys in your environment, then you need to take your alchemical processes further. And you can see the kind of levels that you can go to here. It expands and expands and expands. And what Andrew's talking about here is something I'd never even considered.
Exactly. That's so cool.
Incredible.
Because we've been sitting here staging and black salt in. Like, why the hell isn't this working?
Take it further.
Take it further. It's taking it further. And so somebody was asking, does anyone drink of any of it or add all at offerings? Every now and then you're going to make a brew that's human shareable. But then what is its purpose?
like I every now and then will brew an inspiration brew, where my prayers are to connect to the muse of inspiration and to flow freely into that creative force. So when I sip that, I am imbuing the refined muse of creation that I'll quadruple distill my own prayers through. And therefore it needs to be palatable enough to mix it with something.
Mhm.
Okay. And that's where watermelon and grapefruit and some other weird ones go great with these awful tasting ones that aren't going to make you sick. Okay. Once again, it's knowing what you're doing what you're going to do with it.
What it's for.
If you know it's not right. If it's not for consumption, it means it's for spirit work. That means you can dump it all into it. Okay.
Right. I was reading something about what Marissa said. I don't know if this is exactly what she's talking about, but it sparked an idea. You could bring a piece of wood, a coal from the last fire ceremony that you had,
yes,
and submerge it in this new alcohol that you're making and carry that to your next one.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
So I do that all the time. I do that all the time. And in my alchemy series I did with Natalie, I said exactly that, except at that time I was using a camping fluid, which was even more potent of a flame that I then end up mixing part camping fluid, part rubbing alcohol, which then modified the colors of my fire.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But it's also a way that you can have the inspiration that Andrew was just talking about, because if you were to brew something like a beer and then refine it into a whiskey, and then you were to take a charred piece of wood from your ceremony and put it into a bottle, it would then ruby the color of the whiskey to age it as like whiskey is aged in the thing, as you see. So there are many different ways. So you could actually take your and have it as a recreational drink and inspirational, or anything you want. I mean, you know, it's limitless how you want to go there.
Mm-hmm.
But this is alchemy. This is how you take the prayers, take the ceremonies, take the rituals, and keep them expanding and evolving.
Yeah. And you will learn ways to imbue your excess alcohol into absolutely everything, even if you turn it into a surface cleaning situation where you put it inside a spray bottle and clean off your surfaces with it too.
Clean the walls,
Yeah.
you know.
That's so smart.
Or rub it on yourself.
Okay.
Well, I remember Andrew saying a lady needs sprayed down with alcohol one time.
Yeah.
Damn.
Or the vinegar once the alcohol is soured.
Mm-hmm. So let's say you're going to do an alcohol spray bottle and you're going to use it to, you know that it's already antiviral, et cetera, it's going to kill everything. But what are the prayers you're putting into your spray cleaning bottle? What's in it? Okay. That's the other thing that determines. Let's say you're going to add, zest of a lemon in there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so when you add like you take the lemon, the husk of the lemon, and add it to the rubbing alcohol, or whatever brew level you're using, you're infusing that fruit there, that fruit or vegetable or whatever it is that you're doing, and you're going to add a whole different sensation of wisdom.
You can use the properties of
Yes.
the fruit and the herbs and
or you can start going to essential oils or essences that are from a
we got plenty
alcohol
of
extract.
those.
Yeah, there you
Awesome.
Cannabis, mushrooms.
You can really get creative with
mushrooms
it.
too.
Whatever you want. You could just. I love this.
The key is to understand the fire side of the safety of the fire side and what you're brewing with. If you're going to be doing actual brew, you don't want to taste it. It could make you sick very fast.
Yeah, we don't
But you'll
really
generally
drink
know right
alcohol
away.
anyway, so.
Anyways, you just fire test it. That's the whole proofing. Okay, the first couple drops that come out, you just take it over and what color is it? Okay, if it's anything other than pure yellow, it's gonna kill you.
Yeah.
Right.
You said blue or yellow?
No, if it's anything other than pure yellow, it will kill you.
Okay, all right, noted.
Okay, and when you save enough stuff that's not pure yellow, it's all the colors, and you've imbued it into a bunch of objects, you will have colors of the rainbow in the fire.
Awesome.
Yeah, and it's very magical to have a full rainbow fire.
Could you add the copper bowl to this?
Yeah,
And
to
make that
salts,
sacred flame.
Yeah, all the other stuff, the Epsom salts, everything.
Maybe some potassium.
Yep.
All that. Okay.
Infinite.
This is so
Yep.
cool. I love this. I love this so much.
Do you see the different degrees that you take it to? You see the difference between buying a sage stick from Amazon, have it arrive, and then waft it through your house, hoping it's going to work. Or alternatively, no, I'm not knocking that, right? But what I did, even here in the UK, right? So in the UK, it's very difficult to grow plants that are supposed to grow in California, but I managed to grow a whole garden full of sage. And so white sage. So then that white sage that I now have, imagine the power of that, because I grew those plants, I nurtured them, I nurtured them. It's about, are you going to just buy something off Amazon, or are you going to actually take the time, the prayer, and the effort to create something of your own, where you interact with that being from its conception till its use?
And the
Also,
significance of that is
if you add up the amount of time that you're saging every day, every week, all that stuff that you're doing, versus one organized effort to put together a batch that you're going to be putting prayers into, which would then replace all of that time daily saging, this and that and all that. And they add up the time of what it takes to learn to do it, and you'll realize when you work smarter, not harder, that's when spirit repays you.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Because what's ahead of you is smarter, not harder.
Preparation depicts execution.
That's right.
And remembering to smile while you do it and enjoy it.
Yes.
And that's one of the main things, not to get too military while you're doing all this process.
Yes.
Reminding, tell yourself, smile. I always do it in ceremonies, and all the stuff I do is I always say halfway through, remember, enjoy this, and just flip the frequency. I like joy, energy, trust yourself, love yourself enough to do it.
And that's what Dale is for Two Feathers Medicine. He's the one that always laughs and reminds us to joke, because Laura and I can get really serious, but Dale will come on and just laugh at everything.
Yes.
Just so that frequency.
Dale has huge coconuts.
We're having a coconut off the other day on Messenger.
Yeah, I was teabagged with those coconuts the other day.
Yes.
They're in his eyes and everything.
And just a quick thing to add as well. So from my own experience, so I've got 5 children living with me. 2 of them have ancestral stuff going on. And it's all, for me, it was all about, at the start of my journey, I was being too serious. It was too military. But now it's all about the fun, enjoying my process. And they see it much more. They see me growing, enjoying myself. So as a parent, that's what I highly, my experience is just remembering to bring that funness and laughing and not taking things so seriously. And even if shit goes down, laugh about it, flip the frequency on it, and just continue on, because you're both inspirational people and you've been on a few times. And yeah, thank you for coming on as great teachers for me and everyone.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us. And
Thank
you for saying that. You guys provide so much value to us as well.
Helps so much.
So for a $50 buy-in, you have a whole new way to take everything you've learned and reduce the excess out of it and down to the pureness of essence, because that's what distilling is, brewing and distilling, getting it down to the essence of the meaning.
Gonna start brewing.
If you were to get 4 liters, I mean, I personally like to do a brew and to get a bottle into the corner of each part of the house. And then even in the bedrooms where people sleep, I'll have a bottle in each corner. Although I don't really do that now, but that's when I first started, that's what I did. But if you can even just get down to your first one, 4 liters of refined alcohol, and bury them in the corners of your property, the best you can. It doesn't even have to be physically buried if you've got concrete, you know what I'm saying. Put them in the corners of your property, you will feel the difference instantly. I promise you that.
Now, do these have a proximity, or can they be like, obviously not 100 miles away, but if they're like...
No, in the corners of your property, brother. The corners of your property, your sacred space. The first thing you need to do is to start to protect your sacred space where you dwell. Are you in an apartment or are you in a house?
We're in an apartment complex.
Yeah.
Okay. So you can just do that in the corners of that complex itself. Not because you don't want to imprint onto other people's property, but you can do that within the internals of your apartment.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I was asking, because we kind of got to go a little bit to like bury it in the yard, because it's like, this isn't our shit.
Yeah, no, that's okay. You don't have to do that to begin with. That can be something that's an extended process. What you want to do is extend your sacred space, to protect your sacred space, to imprint on your sacred space.
Inside of our home first.
Exactly.
Set up the home defense network. Okay.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot for calling in.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you so
Thank you
much.
guys
Thanks,
for having
guys.
Thank you, Amanda.
Talk to you
Bye.
guys soon.
Yes,
All
take
right, we'll talk
Thank you
soon.
so much.
Yeah, thanks, Trent.
Bye, guys.
All right. Do
Bye.
we got time for one more caller? I think we do.
Claudia's
Bruce.
had a
Yeah.
hand since the start. Should we get her in?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hey, Claudia,
Yes.
let's bring you on.
We did the same again.
Did we? Okay, you go, Dale. I'll leave on.
Right.
Are you there?
There she is.
Claudia. She's muted.
You press it. For some reason, I'm pressing it. Nothing.
Oh.
I don't know what's going on. The laptop's having a bit of a joke on me now.
She's
There we
pressing
go.
at the same
Yes.
time.
Okay,
Claudia.
now, okay, I pressed it
Now you're
again.
here.
Sorry. Yeah, so once I was in a ceremony and they made a ring of fire also around me, and it felt really good. You know, they put alcohol like around me, and then they put it on, and yes, it was very powerful also. Okay, well, my question was totally on another topic, so I don't know, or do you want a story or do you want a question?
Well, you're the last caller, so you kind of get a little bit of privilege here. So
Oh, okay, I'll go with my question then. Okay, so when you die, there are a lot of people that get trapped by demons, right? And they get like trapped in the body. And my question is, how do you not get trapped or get out of here without,
Daily practice.
Yeah.
Daily practice.
Okay. And with other people, if they're about to die or something, is the alcohol, would that work on them?
Not necessarily.
Okay. But
Their
you don't get
journey is their
involved
journey.
with other people.
No. Their journey is their journey. And then how much of your journey is on their journey until it's their journey. And then it's the work that you've instilled to them and the teachings that you've instilled to them so they don't go into fear or paranoia when they cross over.
Okay.
So can I share a story here? So I once, and I can talk about this because I went to prison for this, but I did a big cannabis grow in a place called Boston, which is where your Boston gets its name from. And I began to open up psychically, and I didn't know what was going on, and it was very demonic. And I came to a point where my mind broke, and I tried to hand myself into the police, and they wouldn't even believe me what was going on. This is insane, right? They wouldn't believe me because I wanted it to end. I wanted it to be done, and I wanted to hand myself into the police because I was working with organized crime rings that were very, very nasty people. And my mind just broke. And an old man, I knocked on a door, just on a random door, and this fellow answered the door. And he ended up taking me in, and he looked after me. And I told him everything that was going on, and he let me stay there in his house. And he eventually brought me to the point where I left that place and went back to my family and was freed from that situation. And it wasn't shortly after that he and I had very little awareness of this. This was the first time I trained in these kind of things. And that particular gentleman, he was dying. That's why he was so, at that point, why he was so open to these different experiences, because he knew he was dying. And he didn't mention it to me, but he took me in and he looked after me. And as he died, his spirit came through and I crossed him over. It was one of the first times that I did that. So to answer your question is that sometimes those experiences will just happen. You can't plan them. You can't force them. They will happen because it's a contract between you and that other person. And you'll know because something would have happened. There'll be value in that experience, or there'll be an exchange. Does that make sense?
Yes, totally. Yes.
I know it's a long-winded way of saying it, but that's just one example as to how those kind of situations can arise. But then once we train ourselves in these particular skills, those things can become very natural. And we can look into a situation and say, shall I cross this being over? Or maybe shall I leave it to their entourage? But there are other situations where very much so you're contracted to do that. I hope
Okay.
that helps.
Good. Thank you so much. Yes, it did. Thank you.
And have you got a story to share? Have you got a spooky story to share? And
yeah,
how's the
spooky
show
stories.
for you been so far?
Well, the scariest one was when I once read. I'm from Monterrey, Mexico, and there were mountains, and I rented in this old neighborhood that was totally closed and locked down in the mountains. And of course, I didn't know why. Of course, later I did, but in that time I didn't. And one day I put on the chimney. All the neighborhood was gone. Like it was like a haunted neighborhood because all the houses were closed and locked down with all the furniture inside, beautiful furniture and everything, but nobody lived there. And so I rented and I opened the first house after I don't know how many decades because that furniture was old. And so I went there. I would go there in the weekends and I lit up the chimney, and I was going to cut my hair, and I lit a little candle and I got my hair, and where I was going to cut it, the chimney, just the light, the everything just like it died. And then the candle just like blew out also, and I was in the dark, and I was like, whoa, what is so then I'm like, there was something inside. Oh, and then the cat, I had a cat, and it would go around my legs. And I don't know what it was seeing. And I was like, whoa. And then
I'll be like, run!
Huh?
Just get out. That's what I'll be like. Get out. Get the fuck out.
Then it was like I could feel that energy or that thing that was there just kind of like spread out and was like it left like the room, but it became like a vacuum, and it was like all around. I could feel it. And then, that the fear was so big that it suddenly turned into anger. I don't know how that happened. And this voice that was like a man's voice that came out of myself, I just, with my finger, I went like, no. And I did the whole circle with this no of this voice of a man. And I turned around and then I'm like, whoa, what was that? And then I lit the candle and it would lit because I tried to lit the candle several times and it was always like, so I think that's how it became like a battle instead of fear became a battle, because there was no way out. There was like, I couldn't run anywhere. So then after that, I felt like that thing just like left the place. So I grabbed my cat, the keys, and I was going out to get into the car, and there was not one leaf moving or anything outside. It was like that thing was waiting for me out there. And then I saw myself like rolling in my car down the mountain. And I said, whoa, I cannot leave. I'm trapped here for now. So I just remember I went under the bed, under the sheets with my cat, and just prayed all night until I heard the first bird. And then I was like, oh, I think I'm safe. Light.
That was a full-on Constantine experience.
Yes.
Anyway,
Well, darling, thanks a lot for calling in. That's a great story you shared with us.
Thank you.
It was. Thanks, Cody.
Thank you.
Thank you all. It was
you.
amazing.
Thank you.
All right, with that, we're going to call it an end to the show. We ask that you go and hit the like and subscribe button. Hold on, I'm getting echo.
Both your mics are on, Andrew. 1 minute.
Hold on.
There we go.
Stupid thing. Do what I tell you, not what I command you.
It's done.
There we go. All right. Oh, it wanted to Zoom update. That's why I was doing that. Anyways, sorry about that, everybody. It did not want me to end the show. Everyone mic'd and subscribed, and we ask you to go to our Two Feathers Medicine locals page, sign up there. You'll find all sorts of ongoing information. We will be having another show coming this Thursday at 2 p.m. We're going to try to be broadcasting every Thursday for the next couple weeks until our Christmas break, just to get everyone used to this new time, this new format, this new style. We ask you to share this wide and share it far. Alrighty, Dale, take us away.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks,
Take
everyone.
care, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.